I called to order the budget meeting for February 20th. This is budget meeting number one. Just a couple of reminders. As we go through the budget, when it comes to maintenance items, I will not stop on them when we're talking. However, any of the aldermen that would like to discuss something, please let me know. Raise your hand, cut me off, do whatever you guys need to do, and we'll go ahead and we'll discuss it. Of course, we'll be stopping on all discretionary items that come on through, so no issues with that. And the biggest thing that goes with it, for the people at home, please make sure we speak into the microphones. Before we start, we got Rhonda and Wally Kendall? Kendall. They have a couple comments they want to make about rear yard drainage projects, so please come up to the microphone.
I'm sorry, Alderman, if I could preface that real quick on why the residents are here this evening.
Was that?
Can I preface something prior
please,
to them
please,
speaking?
Go ahead. Yes, please.
The reason the residents are here this evening is we're introducing projects as part of rear yard drainage program. This year, again, we have approximately 13 projects. Without them, that would be 14. With that said, the budget is status quo as it was this year. So we're actually looking at an increase to include all the projects, which would be a total of 14 projects. Those 14 projects coming at a project cost total of $162,500. Of that, the city contribution would be $104,000 approximately, and the resident reimbursement would be about $54,000. So I just kind of wanted to let the council know where the situation was at prior to them speaking. Thank you.
Folks, please.
Oh, okay, thank you very much for allowing us this time to explain what's been going on. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
Sorry, I'm a school teacher and I can speak without the microphone. But anyway, so what happened was, first of all, we've been Darien residents for 30 years and we live across the street from Cass Junior High. We take great pride in our home and what's been going on. And lately, we need your help with something because we've had some puddling in the southeast corner of our lawn in the front. And we had Oasis Irrigation take a look at it. We had Western Irrigation take a look at it and see if there was some leaking or whatever was going on. They couldn't find anything. So then we called the plumbers, trying to get them in because our water bills are kind of average, but we weren't sure where this water was coming from. And because in the summertime it puddles and then it dries up, you know, we weren't sure what to do with it. Anyway, so unfortunately this year, the puddling now is kind of seeping into the street, and it's causing a hazard. So again, we live across the street from Cass Junior High, so we're worried that the kids or anybody could actually slip and fall. We're across the street, and because the cars line up there and you know there's lots of kids coming and going, we were just very worried about it. And because the weather was so bad, the ice stayed there. It wasn't like it was melting and coming back. It just stayed there. So I don't really understand all the plumbing. That's where my husband's going to take over, where after we had all these people come and take a look at the house and see what was wrong, we got the village, we called the village. And can you tell them what happened when we did that?
Thank you for letting us speak. I called municipal services, and the city workers came out and they checked to make sure that there wasn't a leakage of the water supply coming into their house. There wasn't. We figured out that it was actually the drainage from the sump pump that was draining into the grass and pooling on the side of the street and causing a big ice puddle that, you know, it was a hazard. That's why we we got some good advice from the city workers, and they said that really the only solution was for us to connect our drainage from the sump pump into the main sewer line. And I guess there's a program where you run the lines behind the houses into the nearest drainage sewer line. And that's where we need your help. That's really the only solution. We had plumbers come out and they said it's really the only permanent solution and safe solution is for the city to help us with this drainage problem.
Okay. Dan, what's the cost on this one? Because I know we got so many projects, and this one's not slated till next year, but what is the cost?
Total cost in the project is $10,000. Of that, the city contribution would be approximately $6,500, and the resident contribution would be approximately $3,500. And just to, further expound on it, unfortunately, the situation, there's no storm sewers in front of the house here at all. There's a lack of storm sewers, and in the back there are no further storm sewers either. So basically what needs to happen is pipe needs to be placed in the rear yard for approximately, I want to say 400, 500 feet on the other side of the block, basically. So that's what makes this project, they're all unique in their own way. And in this case, there was 4 parties, I believe, and of the 4 parties, I'm not sure exactly how many said they want to participate, but if I would presume that the other 3 may not participate, they may not have a choice regardless, so they would bear the cost of the $3,500 in this particular case.
And can I just mention one more thing? We did fix it. Chris, I think I was supposed to tell you that we did fix it, so thank you.
No, it's not fixed, it's temporarily fixed.
Yeah, fix. Oh, very temporary. We had to put this black tubing from, it's probably about, how much, 100?
About 100 feet
About 100 feet in the back.
into the backyard.
Now, for any of you who have ever had a child getting married, our daughter's getting married in the summer, and this tubing won't look so nice in our beautifully new landscape backyard. And it's an eyesore, really it is, this temporary fix that we have right now, but we did fix it. So there's no water now currently, puddling up in the front. But really, the only solution we have, and we really need it done this year, is to have it done this way. So please, please consider this. I don't know what else to say. I'm begging you, for my daughter's wedding's sake too, if anything.
Is the tubing removable for the wedding?
Yeah, yes it is, but pending.
Okay, in case.
Oh,
Okay.
cover it with something, but it's,
Alderman Clistic?
Yeah, just quick questions. I had a resident with the same issue, and they just got a ticket to fix it. So I guess some
Same-
going through it. So I guess are all residents being made aware of the program?
Yes, and the same thing happened to them. They
Yeah.
were,
Okay.
a violation letter was sent, and
we
we've been,
fixed it.
they called, and we've been working with them. So, we do have,
Okay.
once the letter gets issued, it's a good system that's in place, and 90% of the time it works out.
Any other questions at all? Anything?
Do we have a historical, annual, how this program has grown and what we're contributing into it? I know it started out, the first year it was, do you remember?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you want to get into that now.
Or
but,
we could wait.
Because we have a whole sheet of all sorts of projects that I
Okay.
have a whole bunch of questions on.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I don't know if you want to jump ahead. I mean,
No,
I think,
no.
I think
Let's
it's good
go
they're
in order. This
expressing
is
their
budget, yeah.
concern, but I
Yeah.
think maybe we need to consider it as we consider all the other
Right.
things as
Okay.
opposed to one
Got it.
isolate would be my opinion. I don't know which way direction people want to go. I appreciate what you're saying, and there are other people on the list here also, but again, I have questions about some of those people, because in a lot of cases, there's 2 people that are saying yes and 8 are saying no, and yet we seem to have it on the list, but maybe I'm misreading, or maybe the timing of it isn't right, but.
That's correct.
Yeah,
You're misreading it because, and I can get into it when we.
But like I say, I mean, I think it's got to be part of the entire discussion, because it is up about $10,000 this year. Last year was about 71.3. This year, I think you've got 81.3 in the budget. So again, as we get into those numbers, because I think you said it was the same, and last year, the rear yard was 9,000. This year it's 17,000, and this year this one's 81.3, and last year was 72.3. We had budgeted.
I'd have to double check. I don't know if you're reading the total, but there's 2 line items in that.
Yeah,
in-
well,
in
that's why I'm saying I think we need to have it as part of the discussion as we get into that part of the budget, as opposed to just looking at these one rear yard at a time.
Folks,
No, and again, the only reason they came was because I told them.
No, it's
more
good,
than
yeah.
likely they may not make the cut this year. So I just wanted to, again.
And it's good to get that input, and we got you on early, so you don't have to sit through all the rest of the boring stuff. If you don't want, I mean, you're welcome to, but if you don't have to sit through that.
yeah. If I could just reiterate that we do live across the street from the school. And it is an issue. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it, but it puddles out quite a bit now, especially if it's cold.
Yeah.
So please, and we're willing to pay our fair share, and
Right.
probably shouldn't say this, I think I'm on TV, but our neighbors if we have to, so we'd really appreciate it.
folks, thank you for coming on in. We'll
you.
take
you.
and we'll
Thank you.
discuss when we get there. Thank you. Okay, everybody, we're going to go to the general fund summary. Okay. Our general fund revenue budgeted for 19 was $14,938,000. Our revenue actually came in at $902,000, higher at $15,840,085. As we go down to expenditures, City Council, we budgeted $66,000. We came in $6,000 less at $60,000. Administration costs, we budgeted $1,247,000. We came in at $83,400 less at $1,164,421. Under community development, we budgeted $828,247,000. And we came in to $29,000 higher at $857,604. Under police, our budget was $8,266,357. We came in $60,000 higher at $8,326,104. Under public works and streets, our budget was $2,894,000. We came in at $78,000 higher at $2,972,000. So our total expenditures for that entire area, we budgeted $13,302,000, and we came in $78,000 higher at $13,380,000. As we go down to the fiscal year balance, all right, our beginning fund balance, we basically estimated that it was going to be $3,686,977. And our actual ending fund balance, or beginning fund balance, same thing, was $4,281,000. As we take a look at our budget, revenue minus other expenditures, our budget was supposed to be $1,635,000. We came in at $824,000 higher at $2,459,000. With the increase from the ending fund budget, and we also turned around and we budgeted $2,450,000 going to be transferred to the capital projects. We came in and we put an extra $550,000 into capital projects for a total of $3 million. Even with that, we ended up coming in at $3,740,000 versus $2,872,000. So what we're looking at for fiscal year 20 budget, all right, we're looking at revenues of $15,234,000. We're looking at expenditures at basically $12,980,000. That's $11,682,000 in maintenance, with discretionary expenditures of $1,298,321. As we go down, the ending fund balance at the end of this year would be $2,994,130. As we go out, looking at 21 as well, fiscal year 21, we're going to be at $2,928,000. And then as we go out to fiscal year 22, we're looking to have an ending fund balance of $2,998,535. So roughly $3 million across the board.
Ted?
Please.
Yeah, excuse me, if I can just pause there for just a minute. For people that might be watching this on TV, I think it's important for them to note you're saying that we've come in at these numbers, and we're projecting, because our year end is April 30th, so we're projecting what our income and expenses are going to be going through that period. And also, when you indicate the ending fund balance that we're projecting for fiscal years 21 and 22, basically showing that at $2.9 million, that represents approximately 3 months worth of reserves. That is what the city's policy has been. But if you also notice the amount being transferred, so basically our surplus being transferred from the general fund to capital improvements and allowing us to do things like streets and sidewalks and things like that, is decreasing, where it's $3 million in the current year. It's projected to decrease to $2,450,000 next year and $1,650,000 the following year, which means that we are spending more and transferring less to the capital improvements, so there's less available for that transfer. So again, just for people watching on TV, I just want them to be aware of that.
Gotcha. Thank you, Michael.
I'm sorry, yeah, in addition, you know, as Mike mentioned, we're looking forward on a lot of these things this year, you know, into next fiscal year. Obviously, the further out you go, it's a little harder to predict, and our projections are a bit more conservative. That's why annually, when our financial audit is done, we take a look at where the numbers actually really did come in, and that's when we adjust this transfer. And, you know, hopefully, like we're projecting this year, those transfers will come in better than anticipated. But again, we don't know, and but again, that's just kind of the second part to what Mike was talking about.
Any questions on that? Okay. All right, let's go to general fund revenue budget. Under taxes, our real estate taxes, we budgeted $2,183,796. We came in $57,000 higher at $2,240,000. Road and bridge tax, about $2,000 higher. Local gasoline tax, we budgeted $310,000. We came in at $320,000. Food and beverage tax, we budgeted $580,000. We came in at $22,000 higher at $602,000. Under state income, we were expecting to receive $2,053,998. We're coming in $66,000 less at $1,987,000. Under local use, we budgeted $545,000. We're going to expect to have an increase of $65,000 to $610,316. Under sales tax, we were hoping to budget $5,509,000. Well, we actually are supposed to be coming in $217,000 higher at $5,726,000. Under video gaming tax, we were expecting $140,000. Looks like we're going to be coming in $40,000 higher to $180,000. Under municipal utility tax, $985,000 what we were expecting to receive. It looks like we're going to come in at $71,000 higher at $1,055,000. Under hotel and motel tax, we were expecting $75,000, and we came in about $7,000 less at $67,000. So we were expecting a subtotal of $12,676,000, and we came in at $13,095,000. As we go under licenses, we are basically under business, liquor, and contractor licenses, expecting $124,500. We're about $2,000, almost actually $1,500 less, or pretty much flat. Under fines, fees, and permits, court fees, we're looking at $100,000. We came in $30,000 higher at $130,000. Under towing fees, we're expecting $37,000. We came in at $32,500 higher at $69,500. Under building permit fees, we were only expecting $35,000, but we came in $152,000 higher at $186,822.
Why such a big jump?
68,000 was the new warehouse, and everything else was projects and everything else. From what I remember.
Yeah, that was the biggest,
Got about the warehouse.
biggest
Should
item.
remember that. Thank you.
That's okay. Under telecommunications tax, $590,000 was what we were expecting, and we came in about $29,000 less at $568,293. Under cable TV franchise, it's pretty much flat, which is good. And as we go down to police special service, we're expecting $99,597 in revenue, and we came in at $31,000 higher at $130,559. So we go down to the total for fines, fees, and permits. Basically, we were looking at $1,449,000. We came in at $230,000 at $1,679,950. And as we look at budget FYE 20, we're looking at $1,395,397. Under other income, water fund share, $250,000, exactly where we're at. Interest income, we were only expecting $5,000 in income. We came in $45,000 higher at $50,000. Under rents for the towers, we were expecting $324,853. We came in at $49,000 at $373,204. And under other reimbursements, we were looking at $45,000, and we came in at $68,000 more to $113,141. Under reimbursements and residential concrete reimbursements, we never budget for this. We just put this as what the people give us over the year, and that came to $76,000 for those two under rear yard as well as concrete. Sale of equipment, we were expecting $35,000. We came in at $5,000 less at $30,000. And then finally, miscellaneous revenue, we were looking at $20,000. We came in at $16,000 higher at $36,403. Bottom line in this section, we are looking for revenue of $687,853. We came in at $254,000, which came up to $941,193. So for the total, as I said, for revenues, we're looking at $14,938,000. We came in at $902,000 higher at $15,840,000.
Ted, if I can stop you on one thing.
Please.
Brian, this is one thing we discussed before, the reimbursements for the rear yard, as I know it's going to be part of the discussion we were talking about before. It's reflecting estimated actual at $24,745. We're currently at a negative $4,609. We talked about that because there were reimbursements, I believe, made to some residents where we overestimated what they were going to owe last year. They gave us the money and then we repaid them the overage after Dan did the final calculations. So we've actually got an expense of $4,609 versus we're showing income in here of $24,745, and we're probably not going to have any income on that. I wouldn't think
I had
between-
not made that adjustment yet, so that will have to be adjusted out.
Okay, let's go to city council budget. Personnel and salaries, we budgeted $42,750. That's what we came in at. Under boards and commissions, we budgeted $2,000 in expenditures, and we came in $1,000 less at $1,000. Under cable operations, we budgeted $8,000. We came in at $3,500 less to $4,500. The entire section for that area was $14,400. We came in $5,550 less at $8,850. So our total expenditures for the city council was $66,000 was our budget, and we came in at $5,700 less at $60,321. As we go out to FYE 20, we're looking at a department maintenance request of $50,071 and discretionary items of $23,950, which will go into now. Any questions on that? So on page 5, we're looking at 12-4205, $1,000, $500 going to Make a Difference Day, and $500 to Holiday Decorating Contest. Does anybody have any issues with these two items?
I just have one question. We've had this Make a Difference Day in there every year. Have we ever used it? Do we actually pay it out or use it, Brian?
Yeah, it's been limited to typically during the fall season,
Okay.
where we'll work with the school and we'll buy bags and,
Okay.
I don't know if it's maybe 300 or so, but around that
Okay,
number.
we have been
depending how
using,
many,
okay.
But we are.
That's all I
doing
was
that, yes.
curious.
Is that where we're going out to senior citizens that have called in for assistance?
Yes, we are. And then some of that might come through the school because, again, they're the ones helping in this case. But yeah, those are typically when seniors need help.
So we'll leave them in, okay. Let's go down to 12-4206, Video and Tech Services Consulting for $6,000. I'm just assuming that's,
Yeah, that's primarily, it augments our volunteers. So we have Elko Hout, his company.
We were dwindling on
Yeah.
volunteers. So we had to make a commitment about making sure that we televise our meetings. So
Yeah.
we went and we got a great price from LK Video.
We actually had it budgeted at $8,000 last year. It's come in a little less because I think we've had some of our volunteers still volunteering, and that helps control the cost somewhat.
Yeah,
So they have
we
decreased
had
them.
to switch over systems, and our volunteers did an incredible job at learning that system. They came in on non-meeting days and spent a lot of time, and we're really thankful for that. So that cut down the need a bit, and we rely again more on the volunteers. Yes, for
Yeah,
that.
and I think it is important to thank them. I mean, they do a great job and spend a lot of hours back here behind the scenes that nobody really gets to see them.
all right, we'll keep the $6,000 in, okay. Under 12-4213, dues and subscriptions, Illinois Municipal Clerks Association, $100, Illinois Municipal League membership, $1,750, and the Mayor's Caucus for $1,000.
What mayor's caucus is that?
Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus.
Okay, you're still going?
Yep.
Okay. So we'll have to pick up somebody to do that in the future. I always enjoyed that, the
Well,
caucus.
and they have more meetings. I just go to the environmental and energy ones. So,
I would go when Mayor Daley was.
right,
yeah.
right. So I think the mayor actually has more opportunities to do other things that are more exciting than what I'm doing, what I'm going to. So there's a lot more meetings than the ones I go to. So. Yeah, I think that for what we get out of it, I think it's money well spent.
Yes. Let's hope one of the people that get elected to this board has an environmental bent like you.
Yep. I'll volunteer to still go to the meetings. I like them. I'll be a resident reporter.
Well, we can't pay for you as a,
Oh, no,
yeah.
nobody was paying me to go to these anyway.
What's that?
I wasn't being paid to go to the meetings.
I'm sorry, well, we're paying
Oh,
a fee to you.
Yeah, but,
All right, let's keep it in. All right. Okay, let's go to 12-4239 under Public Relations. Darien logo merchandise for 500 and city video for 10,000. And the city video is what we talked about before last month about highlighting the city of Darien, correct?
Correct, and, you know, I have that estimate now on the high end, and it's really depending on how much time that we would put into that. I think a realistic number, we could do a video for 5,000, but on the high end, in case it gets more elaborate, if the council wants that to stay in, I have it at a little bit higher. But again, before the council would approve the expenditure, if it stays in the budget, you know, we come back and get more feedback on what the council's looking for in a video.
The purpose of this video, I think Alderman Belzak, you brought this up?
Right, just for
Advertising?
public relations. Yeah.
Okay.
For Kenny. Is there something where the school, whether it be a school project where, you know, some of the high schools could do something in the part of their audiovisual programs to design some kind of video? It'd be a learning experience for them, would be a safe causing measure for us. I know at Brother Rice High School, their AV, they've got these kids are out there, you know, videotaping games and stuff, and it looks like commercials you'd see on ESPN, and these kids are really talented, and I'm sure Hinsdale South and Downers Row South kids, they've got to have something on those programs. Maybe we can look into that.
Yeah, we had not checked. I think originally when this was raised, we looked at a few videos that were done for surrounding communities. Those were done by actual companies, so we had not looked at any of the student projects yet.
It might be a good idea to look into it instead of spending money right away.
Well, if we're going to leave it in the budget and we're thinking about doing something, when would we end up looking to do this? Probably towards the middle and summer, most likely?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the video you'd like, obviously, to be blue skies and nice weather, but you might want to capture some.
You want gray in the middle of December and February?
Yeah, right? You know, you might want to capture some of the snow. You might want to capture, you know, this obviously the winter's very pretty too, so it would be sometime after May we would get together with the consultant, but I would think somewhere in the spring to fall. Summer to fall.
I guess the question is, should we leave it in for right now and explore that possibility too at the same time?
Why not?
Why not? Especially since it's our 50th anniversary, and they might include something that has to deal with our anniversary.
hey, Brian, so it's something that's on the website, I guess? Then the video is available on the website? Is that what it is?
Yeah, I mean, most communities have it on their website, and if you just Google in general, you know, people it'll come up on the web.
Okay, like which ones did you look at? Which municipalities?
There was, I don't know, maybe 4. I don't remember which. I don't remember which ones.
Okay.
I know Downers got one from like 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, there was some that were old that would pop up.
I think the newer ones even like incorporate drones and, you know, kind of that.
Oh yeah.
Aerial footage.
Yeah, it could be done very nice. Yeah.
Okay, we'll go that route. We'll earmark it for now. All right, under 12-4263, training and education for 1,000. I don't have any details on this. Does anybody else? Or?
Well, what that has been, if you remember historically, we never used to have anything in there, and then people said some of the aldermen or that might like to go to a conference, so we added that maybe about 5 or 6 years ago.
Okay, that's what that is.
It allows each alderperson or each elected official up to $100 of that. So since there's 10 of us, theoretically we can use up to that $1,000, but it's rarely used. I think there's one person that generally is taking advantage of it.
I use it for my clerk's meetings.
But I don't think it's been used beyond her $100 in the past, but that's what that item is and how it came about.
I'd be more willing to use yours.
We'll
and it was not transferable. It was per elected official, but.
All right, we'll leave it in. 12-4325, Environmental Committee recycle event for $2,000. That was, I'll tell you, that was probably I thought that was just absolutely phenomenal when we did that Saturday.
We're looking into all different types of recycling now.
Yeah, that was a very popular one. You know, that's harder to get rid of now, all these electronics. So
electronics.
You guys kept ordering dumpsters, right, that morning?
We had to go 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We ordered 2 right off the bat and then had 1 on standby and went right through it. So, any issues?
Last year we had a 2,000 for senior taxi subsidy. Did we get rid of that?
It's, the program was ended.
It's terminated.
Yeah,
as of
that
February.
was through the county, and they had terminated that program, yes.
Unfortunately, they did.
Okay, so we'll leave that in there. Under 12-4366, Halloween party trolley and holiday lights tour trolley for $300 each. Anybody got any issues with it? Okay. All right, we're done with that section. Let's go to administration. All right, under personnel salaries, we budgeted $286,000. We came in at $3,000 higher at $289,000. Under benefits, we were pretty much flat at $135,000. We came in at $2,000 less at $133,000. Under operating costs, our liability insurance was $311,639 that we budgeted for. We came in at $35,000 less at $276,207. Under public relations, we budgeted $34,000. We came in at $8,000 less at $26,570. Under telephone, we budgeted $51,200. It looks like we're going to come in $12,000 less at $39,000. Our subtotal for operating costs, we budgeted $432,000. We came in at $61,000 less at $371,496. Under contractual services, our budget was $348,450. We came in $17,000 less because of consulting professional services, and our total budget, our total expenses was $330,200. Under capital, our equipment was $45,000. We came in at $5,000 less at $40,000. So our total expenditures for administration department was $1,247,884. We came in at $83,463 less at $1,164,421. As we go out, you're taking for a look at FYE 20. We're looking at a maintenance request of $1,181,701 and discretionary items of $253,710. Most of it will be about Sterigenics, and we'll go to the next page. All right, under 10-4213, under dues and subscriptions, we have $1,490. Basically, books and publications for $100, ILCMA $300, ILGFOA members $350, notaries $160, IPLRA $205, GFOA $375. Does anybody have any issues with these as usual?
What kind of books and publications are those? Like the magazines we get in our mailboxes for the $100?
Under 10-4213?
No, typically, like with the, most of those magazines are free.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, so there's an occasional book. Maybe the Illinois Municipal League sells some really good books at discounted prices to members. Every other year they update, so it's really more of an educational type book that we might get. Alderman Schauer, I wanted to make one general comment also on salaries as we're going through those. You know, many of our employees are covered by collective bargaining agreements, and a number are not. And for those employees that are not, we have a step system also in place, similar to the union contracts. And I've plugged in 2% this year, which matches the Public Works contract. And the only exceptions I have made in this budget are for 2 positions, and I just wanted to cover both of those now.
Okay.
We have Julie Sands is our accountant, and she has been here, and I am including moving her position to a different range, which is 14, which is accounting manager. And then the second positions, really there's 2 people, but they are the foreman in municipal services. Both of the foreman position are, I'll say, compressed to the union contract. So, you know, if you have the top union pay and then you have the foreman, there's not much of a difference or incentive. So I would, excuse me one second. So in this draft budget, I have moved them up to pay grade 11 from pay grade 10. So those are the only exceptions to the 2%.
Anybody have any questions or issues with it?
It's the responsibility difference.
Well, I think one with Julie is part of it is experience that she's been here. So we typically, in that position, hire somebody in an accounting position. As they move forward and grow with the position, as Julie's doing, we could move them up. And it's basically their experience here, and Mike could probably add a little bit more to that, but there's more given in terms of, I would say, responsibility towards the finance. It's less, here's reports, and a little more analyzing reports. That's probably the primary issue for the accounting position. And I know with Julie, actually, she was recruited by her previous employer when she came here, and she had worked there part-time, and we obviously wanted to keep her here. She's doing a fantastic job, and that was what I had talked to her about, is moving that position back to where it was for her predecessor, who was here a while. And then with the municipal services, it was more of a compression issue. Julie's position, we don't have anything to compare it to, that she doesn't supervise anybody. So in case of Public Works, it was just salary compression, where it's just too close between supervisor and employee.
Yeah, if I can throw my 2 cents in on Julie, since I interact quite a bit with her, not so much with the foreman, obviously, but with respect to Julie, she'll be here 2 years at the end of April, and she was, like I said last night, she was thrown into things. Her predecessor left, so she was just starting with the audit. She was really, I don't want to say she was in over her head, but she was thrown into a lot of things that she wasn't familiar with, and she really did a great job learning. Now she's to the point where the monthly financials, usually like the January financials, by February 3rd, I've already got an email in my box. The January financials are done within 3 days of the close of the prior month. She's got the prior month end done, which that used to always take at least 2 to 3 weeks previously. The other thing, she's shown an awful lot of initiative. She's really taking charge and finding, I don't want to say errors, but better ways of handling a lot of the paperwork and the documents and the backup behind a lot of the accounts that we've had. And she's taken that initiative herself to clean it up, and getting frustrated. Sometimes, a lot of times I'll go in her office and I'm almost afraid to say, how are you? And I've got a headache because I decided to tackle this or that. But in my mind, she's doing an outstanding job, and really it's well-deserved.
Which is the differential. Obviously, we have a merit program that we have $2,500 annually for employees. So it was, as Mike mentioned, she's doing a great job, but it was really her responsibility that I see growing into that accounting manager. It's not just doing the books every month. It's doing the books and checking other work, maybe at the front desk, the accounts receivable, and again, really doing more managing, I think, our cash flow and different aspects of the
But her initiative
finances.
was really impressing me. She's
Yeah.
taking things on that we've never even directed her to do, and taking on a lot of different things. So, in my 12 years here, she's really added a lot to my previous experience, and she's.
Quick question on a foreman. I know in the private industry, for example, if you're top level senior engineer, you get paid overtime, but once you go into management, that goes away. So that's similar to the foreman position, where you're working overtime, you're getting, as an employee, you're getting overtime, but once you go into foreman or a management, does that go away, the overtime, and it's just strictly salaried, or
Well,
is
if
there
you
any
get
difference with
into
overtime with
superintendent as Chris, there's straight time, comp time type of issue. But those two, Chris, are regular overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're earning
They
overtime.
get treated just like the guys.
They probably, Chris, don't get as much actually a call in, because a lot of the work that's called in
Is for the union.
is for the union employees. So, the union employees typically would get more hours of overtime than the foreman would get.
During the snow events, it's all hands on deck, so the foremen are part of the snow operations.
Brian, for the salaries, how many bodies are covered by the 318,742?
Oh, for the 318, I can tell you exactly. Four full-time and one part-time.
And that includes your contract as well?
No, mine is in another line item in this budget. It's not under salaries.
It's about $32,000 higher than last year, and that's mostly because of how we reassessed these 3 employees.
I'm sorry, the budget itself?
Last year's budget I have at 286. salaries.
It's $28,000 higher than last year's.
I'm sorry?
28,000.
I'll have to check that.
Oh, 30, I'm sorry. You're
I
right.
guess the question, does anybody have any issues with,
Babysitting today, I only made it up to 10.
does anybody have any issues with what Brian recommends on this?
Tim, I'll have to look at that differential to make sure it's on the spreadsheet accurately.
Okay.
The other thing, Brian, that we used to do, I know we always made it as part of the budget packet, although it usually came out late, was the hierarchy and the number of positions in the different departments. There's no add in the positions in this case, right? It's just
No, yeah, that-
the
you know,
amounts, but
correct,
that
and-
might be helpful too, I know is.
Yeah, I always put that in a final draft.
Right.
Depending, I mean, this year we're not asking for any new employees. I think it was last year, the year before, we asked for a water employee, maybe made some changes in the police department structure. But normally when the budget's done and the final goes out, I include that in there, but I can do that anytime.
Okay. So we'll just go with it for right now. Okay.
I'm sorry, who's the supplemental, it's a supplemental pension? What is that for?
That is our matching ICMA contribution. So employees will put $1,200 in and the city matches up to $1,200.
Okay, let's go down to 10-4239 under public relations, $34,170. Neighbors Magazine postage, $19,570. Any issues with it? Okay. Informational flyers for 1,000. Pretty standard. Okay. City surveys for 500. Citizen of the Year, 4K reimbursement, $8,100. Same thing, okay. And then July 4th fireworks contribution of $5,000. So, any questions or?
Sylvia, you're not going to be here anymore.
Right,
Leave it alone.
And I won't vote for it.
We don't give a lot to our residents.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely,
You're talking
Joanne.
about the public relations. Yesterday, you were talking about the 50th anniversary. Where are you going to put that? Would that not be in public relations also, like the Citizen of the Year?
Yeah, there's currently nothing in for the, that would have to be added here, yes.
Okay. So we should probably add another.
Kind of like a Citizen of the Year, maybe.
Or substitute the firework.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I got 5,000 in fireworks, we could just move it right over.
I have no problem doing that.
5,000, add 5,000 for 50th.
Is going to be enough? I'm just asking, I don't know.
Well, I mean, if you do it similar to the, if you have a committee made up of volunteers from different organizations, there's no cost there. If they're doing things at Darien Fest, they're doing things at Darien Fest that they're planning. If you're going to have a banquet in the fall, it's going to celebrate the anniversary of the city. It's going to be similar to a Citizen of the Year banquet. So you may want to put more than 5,000. May want to put like another $8,000 there.
But you realize that you have 4,000 of these.
Yeah.
But since this year we didn't have a Citizenship of the Year, does that get transferred over to this year for 4,000?
It's already reflected in the numbers that Ted's been reading.
So I guess we should do, okay, then 5,000, and then the other we'd have to talk about it, but probably do reimbursement for it, like for the Citizen of the Year.
But
So.
Citizen of the Year, you also have a lot of guests that the city pays for past Citizens of the Year, and also the current Citizen of the Year and their guests. So that's where it's not reimbursed then, correct?
And the volunteers
Well, that's
also.
the difference between the 4,000 and the 8,100. There's 4,000 of that 8,100 is reimbursed to us. The rest is we cover.
But we wouldn't have the 80, everything would be reimbursed by the people buying their tickets. We wouldn't be giving people freebies, would we?
I agree.
Well, I don't know, like if, I mean, you talked about, you know, doing like a thank you to volunteer, like, you know, I don't know, some kind of volunteer, so I don't know how you do that without spending
Well,
We
money.
do that at the Citizen of the Year. We'd invite the volunteers.
Right.
And, you know, we'd had little.
Did we
used to
pay
have
for
to
them?
have tokens that we'd give.
Well, we, yeah.
Yeah, and we
city
covered their
city
meals,
employees,
right?
we would actually,
Yeah, you know, I'm walking around with one of them that we gave to the citizens.
You know,
Volunteers one year, you know.
What you may want to do is, you may want to have each of these organizations that's going to become involved in planning this. Maybe, for instance, there's the Women's Club has a Woman of the Year, Lions Club has a Lion of the Year, Rotary
Also, like
might have
each
somebody
group has
that.
a volunteer of the year.
Yeah, and those people, maybe what you do is you give them their dinner for free. You have them come. This way, then each organization has an incentive to participate, because then they get to submit the name of someone that they want honored at that banquet.
So right now, we should just earmark $5,000. Would everybody be in
That's fine. Yeah.
for the 50th anniversary? Is that okay?
So you're gonna add 5,000 to make it 39,170.
I thought we were redirecting.
And that's exactly, are we, cutting away something to make that happen?
No.
Joe, I thought you liked fireworks.
Yes, sir.
I like fireworks too, but sometimes you gotta do what makes sense.
How much does $5,000 buy us? About 8 minutes?
Kathy's too loud.
Kathy's too loud?
Can't hear Kathy.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Dave. Oh, his son's name, David.
So are we gonna? So are we just leaving it 39,170? Okay. All right. Let's go down to 10-42.
I'm sorry, Ted, I was looking at a salary issue. What am I doing on that? Adding
Putting
5?
50th anniversary $5,000.
Adding 5, yes.
Adding
Okay.
5. Okay. 10-4263 under training and education, local training for 1,500.
That for police or?
No, administration.
If they want to take classes and stuff? Would that be, Brian, would that be that funds?
Which
If they
number?
want to take classes, is that what that money is for? Yeah, it would be.
4263.
Yeah, we don't have any tuition reimbursement, but if any of the 4 or 5 employees I mentioned we have covered in that budget would take some type of training, that would be covered under that.
You brought it down from 2,000 last year.
And we still didn't use it all? Yeah.
Keep it at 1,500.
Sure.
Okay. 10-4265 under travel and meetings, association meetings for 250 and mileage for staff for 300. Any issues? Okay, so let's go down to 10-4325. Okay. Environmental services sterigenics fight for 200,000. Let's discussion.
My question, because I know for years we've had $500,000, set aside in case we run into some issues.
Capital projects, right? Correct.
The 6 years that we've never had to touch that 500,000.
Oh, yes, we have.
Walnut.
That's why we
Not all of
started.
it, not all of it.
Okay. So
Walnut
I was
Bridge
just wondering, is there a way that we can utilize the 200,000 for the sterigenics out of that, and then leave the 300,000 in place?
I would rather leave the 500,000 for emergencies, because Walnut was almost $500,000 right there.
And we got contributions, but not much from the county.
Right.
Well, I think, that 500 was set aside typically for economic development incentives and things. The capital projects carries a balance also in case there is an emergency, but that in theory is earmarked for economic development. It doesn't have to be. It's whatever the council decides, but that's kind of what
There's a separate line item for Walmart and the Home Depot incentive. There's a separate line item. So what Brian is saying is that 500 is there. So if anybody in the future comes to us and has some great idea, but they need the money.
Development.
Economic development, yeah.
Right.
But we could use it for other things too.
Yeah, you can use that, or you have balances in different things that ultimately, it's a pie. How you want to slice it, there's still options.
When you offer the economic incentives, once you offer, do they keep coming back for more and more? Like the Walmart and Home Depots consistently.
Well, those are multi-year agreements, so those are in place already for some time. Other like Chuck's and things, that's typically been a one-time deal. Dan, I don't remember some of the other ones, but that was obviously the biggest one.
And Home Depot and Walmart were written contracts, that we're committed to. So there's not going to be passing out more and more.
I would imagine that if we ever get anything on the corner of Cass in Plainfield Road, there's going to be some type of economic incentive tied to that as well.
That's really the last key piece that, we could probably use that money to help recruit somebody.
And John Manos it has been terrific working with him,
Definitely.
that he would be willing to step up and get involved in any kind of,
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
John,
we just-
John Manos has been patient with, trying to get the right use in there, and, he works with Dan all the time on different things.
you can't imagine how many doors we have knocked on to find something the quality we want. And it's not happening, but hopefully.
We just
Sorry.
put
Oh, go ahead, Dan.
we just put a sign up on the corner. Man, unfortunately, the sign is a little bit small, but that sign basically says economic and development incentives available to contact the city hall. So again, I'm going to talk to John, and unfortunately, it's not big enough. On a computer, it looked very big. Unfortunately, when he put it up, I didn't realize it's going to
Your
be that
screen's
small
only
print.
this big.
Mac, I love it.
So, but we're just, that's from another point of economic incentives. We're trying to at least encourage some passerbys, motorists to, hey, what does the city have? And as the mayor said, we've just recently, again, something just fell through as well, unfortunately.
I would be remiss, too, not to bring up the 75th and Cass project. Obviously, that was even before Chuck's, and that involved some incentives in terms of land acquisition and working with the developer there. So now that it's up and it's beautiful, I don't want everybody to forget all the work that was put into that, including, money for incentives or again, working with that developer.
Plus the environmental work that had to be done on that property too.
Oh, every, 2 gas stations and a dry cleaners.
I tell you, when I think about what we went through, my God, how many times did I almost lose an election over that gosh darn strip mall?
Well, we bought it the wrong time.
Didn't we ever?
Our speculation
Oh my
was
Well,
not
what
done
killed
well.
what killed us is when the guy bought the Shell station and then he wanted to sell it to us for more money than he.
Well, obviously, what was the name of that developer? I keep thinking Columbus, but
Was it Trump? No, I'm kidding.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, I don't recall
Well,
either.
I know we paid an
Brick line
astronomical.
or something broke?
Well, he
something
bought
with
the
a B?
parcel for a low amount. Then he had a bid to sell it he was going to make a profit. So in terms of
Can you
us
imagine a
negotiating,
little
that's what you pay.
L-shaped,
Well, then the
strip
other
mall
thing
we're gonna
is
put
the
there?
center. If you guys remember, the center itself,
we paid astronomical.
we had to
amount of money
pay
that.
for what was considered his income potential on that
What was the
property.
name of the guy that owned that?
Kaporis? Not Kaporis.
Forrest, yes. Oh my gosh.
I mean, we had to pay.
What a wheeler dealer.
The appraiser said it's not just the property you're buying. You have to pay for what income can be generated by that property.
We bought all the properties at a high price, and then the economy tanked.
$2.8 million for the center.
It was, talk
Well, Mayor,
about
you're
timing.
saying high, but we did have appraisals. I don't want anybody to think we
Right.
paid. We
Oh,
paid.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
But
we
it was
paid.
just the timing of the economy
Yes.
hitting a bad time.
Yeah.
Well, but it was better than Gamley, though. Gamley wanted us to give it to him for free.
Well, the other guy did too, the one that Bradford
Most
Kent-
did, except
Bradford
our-
Kent
yeah.
wanted to give us to give it to him free.
Not to
But
digress,
I love
but
that plan, the
yeah.
Gamley plan. Wasn't that the ideal plan? That whole triangle.
Yeah.
Gamley was going to do the whole triangle, and he was going to build condos.
All right, with that said, all right.
We can dream. We can dream.
Sorry, Alden, for us getting off track. My
Stereogenics.
fault.
I think
Okay,
is where
so
we're at.
We're just
so I
reliving
guess
some history here.
Going back with stereogenics, obviously there's a lot of things that we can discuss with stereogenics tonight and go over, and there's going to be questions upon questions. I guess the question here, should we earmark the $200,000 for right now, knowing that we're going to go back and discuss it in depth and in detail?
Yeah, but additionally, at our council meeting last night, Alderman Vaughn brought up the option, option of us piggybacking on Willowbrook's current testing that expires at the end of the month. And I happened to see their administrator today. We were at a DuPage Water Commission meeting, and I mentioned that to him. And at first he thought, yeah, that's a really good idea. And he was going to talk to the consultants that we're both would be using for testing. Given what happened today, I don't know if that scenario is still the best. I don't know if you want to continue testing over there if the facility's shut down for a month or more. I don't know how long it would be shut down, but
Well, Brian, now there's a call. I can't go on the call for the EPA on this week. Are you
for
able
the
to go
federal
on that?
EPA,
The federal EPA. Sylvia, are you going to be on that call?
It's going to be on the call.
We need to press them to find out if they're going to continue doing testing now that they may try to walk away from this now that Sterigenics is shut down, but I don't think they should. I think they should continue testing.
They have said they're committed to their plan, and they have said that, I think probably as late as last week, that they're committed to what they laid out in terms of testing, how long they're going to test. But I to some degree, I'll participate in those calls and continue to. But I think our focus now is still with the Illinois EPA. And if we want to do testing, again, I don't know if that is, if we did piggyback on Willowbrook, again, they're done in a couple of weeks, and we would have to pick up. They end on a Friday. We would pick up on a Saturday everyday testing. And if the council was interested in that, we would really have to hustle. And I thought an easier way would be an intergovernmental agreement with the Village of Willowbrook saying you continue your testing for a month, we'll reimburse you for those costs, which is, again, it's the same result. But if the council wants...
Okay, so it's shut down now based on some really high data. What if the data then starts going in the other direction?
We'll know.
Well, especially when it's closed now, the facility.
Right.
Well, the concern is that Sterigenics would use that against us.
Exactly. So Willowbrook...
So I think we should talk to maybe the attorneys that are...
Yes.
Attorney Murphy talk to the Illinois Attorney General and see if they think it's wise to do this at this time.
And in part, that's...
Your point is that we could prove
we could hurt the case. If the numbers come down, Sterigenics going to go, see, there's not a problem. Or if the numbers stay high, they're going to say, it wasn't us, it was somebody
the
else.
numbers have to stay high. That's
Yeah, sometimes leaving well enough alone might be good.
I was just about to answer that question. Thank you.
Yeah, so again, I mentioned that to Tim, because I saw Tim before noon today, and the announcement came out later in the afternoon. But that is something that we have to take into account. Maybe that is not the best use of the money.
We can wait till we get the Willowbrook results, and then make our decision.
Yeah, you wouldn't pick up though the day after. That's all.
That's correct.
Yeah. So there would be some lag time. But again, if Sterigenics remains closed as they are currently, Willowbrook will have data while they were open for 2 weeks and while they were closed for 2 weeks, and the team that Willowbrook's using, that might be sufficient for them.
So I think it's important to earmark money for what potentially would be a fight against this corporation, just not knowing what the fight might entail.
You're talking about.
I think Alderman Belzak is very correct in what he's saying. I think we need to talk to the attorneys to find out how wise it would be to continue any testing now that they're shut down.
Given what happened.
After
I agree.
After Willowbrook's testing is done.
Yeah, but this is just for budgeting, so it's better to have it budgeted.
That's right.
And not having to run for emergency. So it doesn't mean we have to spend it.
Yeah, we shouldn't do anything just for emotions. It's right to keep the amount in here, but I think Tom is exactly right. Just we need to take the lead from the attorneys, not just to do it because it makes people feel good that, hey, we're doing something. We got to make sure we're doing it for a purpose. And if the purpose is self-defeating, then there's no point in spending the money on something like that. Yeah, I think you hit the nail right on the head, Tom.
And if you recall the proposal we had for the 30-day testing, I think it was about $108,000. I put 200 in.
There's going to be legal fees.
It could be whatever.
Who knows
it could be whatever number the council wants. If the council doesn't think 200 is sufficient, you can, I put that in there. It's kind of a random number, but there's no science to that number. I thought.
Are Attorney Murphy's fees currently going to be coming out of this, or is that a separate budget?
No, they're his. Currently, they come out of our attorney budget. This was, in my mind, more earmarked for environmental assistance, but by not earmarking it specifically for that, it'll be at the council's discretion.
He did not file an appearance today, so there's no reason for him to charge us anything for today. And he
wrote a memorandum today.
He wrote a
they attended. John's firm attended today, and while he didn't participate, that was.
All right, so we're just going to leave it in. We're in agreement, 100%, everybody? Okay. All right, well, let's go to 10-4345, miscellaneous cleaning for $1,000 under janitorial services.
I'm going to back up just a second, Ted. I'd just like Brian to explain. There's a new item in here, CGIS software maintenance. It is under maintenance, but it is a new item, so I just wanted Brian to...
That's part of what's going on over at the police department.
Yeah, there's we put backup in the packet for all of the computer improvements or maintenance we're looking at, but with the countywide system, there's certain safeguards and maintenance that we need to do to make sure the system is secure and that's part of our ongoing expense, really for the maintenance of that and the security. And again, there were other options available that would have included, you know, us going our own system, which was millions of dollars. So even at this amount, for us to be participating in this countywide system is obviously the way to go. It's just now we're starting, you know, that system is starting up, so we're starting to see those expenses.
Yeah, I'm not objecting to
Right,
it, but again, I
right.
just wanted the council to know this is something new and it's not indiscretionary.
This is a program that was a long time in coming, that took a long time to perfect, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yep.
Question?
Okay. Miscellaneous cleaning for 1,000 under janitorial services. What are we cleaning for 1,000?
Wait, what was the 10,000 contingency? Tom just brought that up.
Well, which question are we on? I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't. My apologies. I missed that completely.
4330.
Is that the number that we always use every year?
Yeah, the John Podorowski.
Yeah, we
We
continue.
We skipped over it, so he's asking.
Yeah,
No one else is
continually
doing
in the admin budget have 10,000 as a contingency number.
Gotcha.
We ever spend it?
Yes.
Or what?
This year we've spent it on computers because we've had additional computer problems. You know, again, it's a number. You can't say what you're going to spend it for because it's a contingency. But
In the past, I think we spent some on, didn't we do those trees by the water detention for Tina? That was about $5,000. We did a co-share with the
Yeah,
The wreaths,
there
the
was-
Christmas wreaths too.
Yeah,
Last year.
so there's always,
That needs red
they
bows on
they almost
them,
always
you know,
find
you'll
something.
have to add red
Mayor,
bows.
they're in the budget, yes.
Typically it's Dan Gombach's items, but we'll
Yeah.
try to stay away.
We'll
Mine,
put that
it was
contingency down to
$20,000
that
1,000.
he transfers over
We
administration.
buy him some black socks instead of those white ones.
Yeah, you know what? I like them because they're.
They look good on you. All right, let's move on. Ted, all right. What is miscellaneous
Knee
cleaning
highs.
for 1,000? I don't want to know any more.
What
than
number,
that.
Ted? I'm sorry. I just want to.
Knee highs for 1,000 sounds like Jeopardy.
4345.
10-4345 under janitorial services, miscellaneous cleaning for a grant.
Yeah, typically, you know, like I'll say carpet cleaning as an example. It's not covered by our annual contract. There's times when we might need to do some things and some additional cleaning that's just not covered in our general maintenance
Basically
contract.
contingency for something to pop up. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Any issues?
And there's probably a little bit of fat in the regular janitorial this year too, because now that we changed, we don't have it done every day, so it's a little bit less expensive, but nothing worth changing any of these numbers over.
Yeah,
Because we've
correct.
left the
And
number the same, but it's actually down.
It probably would be, yeah,
peanuts,
probably
but
down,
yeah.
a little
Yeah.
bit.
Any issues with it? Okay. 10-4815 cable room upgrade for $5,000.
Are we going to require more upgrades, Brian? Or is that just as a contingency, so to speak?
There are some parts of the cable room, like still some of the computer that needs to be updated. There's not a lot left there. Potentially, we are looking at the microphones also as part of that, but actually, you know, we've had two suggestions. One that the microphones aren't so good, and others that they're really good. So I guess it just depends, but that will typically be used for computer upgrades in the room.
It's time to bring it up if you think
The
you can do
microphones
something.
are only $100. The felt's $5,000.
Was your felt off? We have
These
extra
things,
felt
come on,
on.
they're old. Forget about it. Okay. Does anybody have any issues with the $5,000 or not?
Oh, you mentioned something to me before.
Crazy
if you want to bring it
Could
up.
buy a lot of crazy
We'll
ones.
do that.
Let's take them in.
What is he thinking about?
Any issues?
Okay. You got something on your mind there about items? No?
No, we were talking earlier about the computer software support and maintenance. Like, what are they doing exactly when they say support?
Well, I will tell you
computer
that item has backup material
Well,
in the
for
budget,
backup,
and
yeah.
I'm looking at the copy that does not have that. But in there, we laid out all of the maintenance items, all of the new computer items. Thanks, Chris. Yeah, it's projects and upgrades. It gives the estimates and everything that is in the budget numbers are included in this backup.
Yep, you have to remember, Alderman Vaughn does this for a living, that's why he's asking.
Yeah.
So
Seems like 13,000 for Windows. Are we paying for Windows software? Is that what it is? When you upgrade?
Yeah,
from
typically
Windows?
it's
We pay for the
licensed.
licensing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Was there anything else in that or questions?
Computers. You know, there's some upgrades. The 13,000 is specifically for upgrading 21 computers from Windows 7 to Windows 10, as an example. What's that?
Windows 7 will be out of support
Yeah,
after January.
So, Mayor, I think you said page 14, and it's...
Yeah,
Yeah.
the backup starts on 12 through 14.
And, you know, we have an outside consultant for computers. We don't have somebody in staff, so we meet with AIS annually prior to the budget so we could take a look at things, because sometimes things will change from year to year. But hopefully, if you take a look at the backup in there and have any questions, if you want to send those separately, it'd probably...
Take a deeper look, yeah.
Yeah,
Do that,
yeah.
And we did bid that out a couple years ago, and AIS, I believe, won. They were the least expensive, if I'm remembering right. Wasn't it a few years ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's a service, so, you know, you get what you pay for, and we did look out for services because it was a few years, and you know, they have been here now, and some of it's built-in monthly maintenance, and some of it is project-based, but again, it's all in there. Want to take a look?
So you can get it for 30, you can get it for 38, right? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that what I'm leaning on, right?
I can get a little lower. Yeah.
Two quick questions, Brian. Maybe you can answer it. For replace fiber optic cable between City Hall and Police Department, why do we need a fiber optic cable or Wi-Fi or a T1 line? What's the requirement for fiber? It sounds like if you're going to be trading on a stock exchange for fiber, but I don't know. I'm just curious. It says $6,500 for replace fiber optic cable between City Hall and Police Department. Fiber optic cable.
Yeah, I will have to specifically check that.
Yeah, it just seems very odd. I don't know.
Fiber is expensive.
What's your question?
That's 4325. Replace fiber optic cable between City Hall and Police Department. Fiber cable past life expectancy. So,
You're questioning the need for it at all?
Fiber optic.
yeah, for 6,500. It's Wi-Fi at it. I don't know. I'm not sure,
okay.
right? You can get a Wi-Fi router for $150.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, I mean, they're, you know, I
curious
don't
what,
know the
It's the
specifics.
internal network. That's why you need the fiber optic line for the internal network. So
Yeah, there are different.
yeah, it's like the speed of light, you know, but it could be overkill, but it could not be. But yeah, it's
But it could,
definitely
but from a Wi-Fi standpoint, could it be from a security standpoint that they don't want to see somebody, be hacking in? That's why we want to do hardwire.
There are security requirements, but I cannot tell you the specifics. Other than it's past its life expectancy. There's servers at different locations. You know, we communicate all the time between the places. But I could.
Okay, yeah, just curious. And then the 2 laptops for Public Works for $5,000. So what goes with that? So add 2 new laptops with integrated Verizon cards, improve staff efficiency, $5,000. So just with the detail, usually laptops are $500, maybe $1,000.
I think it's probably a little bit on the high side, but
okay.
we just put a number in there
Okay.
after referencing with the AIS as well. But one of them is for our arborist, and the other one is for our concrete liaison, and so that and the Verizon card is essential so that they actually can do all this stuff while they're in the car.
I think
also
out
on the
type,
road.
The product you get has to be even tougher quality.
Yeah, we used to get the tough books, and after talking with the IT guys, it was kind of, it was worthwhile, but we do get a beefier version of a laptop.
Okay.
But yeah, it's definitely, it's worth their weight, what they pay for them.
Gotcha.
It gets
and then
us-
the Verizon, that's like the hotspot, right?
Yeah, well, we've had some where it's integrated into it, and then other ones where they do have the USB ones. It allows them to get their email instantaneously when they're in the field. So that's the biggest need for it, is so that they're responding to complaints and concerns and questions while they're there, and it's not, you got to go back to the office and check every, once at the end of the day. Now you can't respond because the complaint came in and you're on your way out the door.
It's following up with work orders, right?
It really does improve the efficiency.
Yeah, because like my phone, I can use it as a hotspot too. So if they have cell phones, theoretically, you can use your cell phone as a hotspot.
Yeah, we don't pay
too,
for them to have smartphones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It might be cheaper though than.
I don't know. I'm just asking questions.
And then in this case, the concrete guy or the concrete liaison also prints out the estimate right there in his truck, so.
So the 5,000 includes the printer or no?
I'm not sure if it included the printer, but I know it included all the details as far as what the computer needs were, and obviously going back out, we're going to be bidding these
Oh, okay, so it's not through
laptops as well.
AIS, they're just giving you some.
Guidelines, while they're
Guidelines,
giving us the
okay.
guidelines,
Got
we
it.
give them
Okay.
the opportunity.
They'll be
and-
bid out, all right.
Yeah, you can probably put a wireless card for Verizon, so that's all. Okay.
And Alderman Quistik, your
No, you
other
didn't.
question about the
No.
fiber
You know
optic
something about it.
is covered on page 24. I don't know that it specifically answers it because it says we need new fiber optic but it doesn't specifically
They're just getting
say
estimates from
why we
vendors,
need it,
you know?
other than
So
it's old. But
Your questions are good.
you know, that is probably, the council's hitting on one part of the budget. It's probably the hardest for the staff to answer because we have a consultant for this.
Okay,
So if you get a chance and you look through the backup on that, if
Okay.
you want to send me any individual questions, you know, that it's best that we can go through those and get the answers we need from our consultant or other staff members.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions in this area? Okay, let's go to community development. Okay.
If anybody's interested, the Blackhawks are up 3-1.
Up 3-1?
Yep.
Awesome.
Did that
The
come
second
from
period
Alderman
just
Penny?
the second period is just starting.
Just put it up on the screen.
All right. Under community development, salaries, we budgeted $296,000. We came in at $2,000 less at $294,038. Under benefits, we budgeted $112,356. We're pretty much flat. We came in $1,400 less at $110,955. Under operating costs, our liability insurance was $23,000 that we budgeted for, but we came in $9,000 higher at $32,000. As we go down to economic incentives, this is Walmart and Home Depot. We budgeted $278,000 for them. We went to $303,000, which is an increase of $25,000. As you see that we go out, it's going to go up to $398 by FYE 22.
338. Oh, 398. Okay.
I'm just out of curiosity, the sales tax at Home Depot and Walmart, are they still 35% of what of the entire city? Do we know that number?
I don't know whether that's the percentage, but our reimbursement to Walmart, we get to keep what we were getting prior to their redevelopment, and they get all the increase in that. So as their sales increase, naturally sales tax goes up, so that's triggering their amount to go up every year. But I don't know about that ratio, that percentage. We can look into that.
Yeah, because I'm curious. It's cool. I think as we say, Walmart and Home Depot are 1 and 1A in the city, and I think that's almost close to $2 million.
Actually, surprisingly, I think Jewel might be right up there with.
Oh, is it really?
With
Walmart by itself, I think, is like 1.2.
It's less than that.
It's 800. It was 800.
It's 800?
Between
That's
8 and 9 is
Oh,
what
okay,
it was
okay.
before. So everything over that, we have to reimburse to them.
Gotcha.
With price increases and everything else going up this year, I would anticipate that number continuing up.
Well, then there's an additional split on the increase.
Well, the incentive was $2 million to Walmart and $2 million to the developer, but it was compounded at 8%. So Walmart has to get their $2 million paid off after compounding 8%, which I said will probably never happen. Once they get that, then the developer $2 million kicks in, and they're compounding at 8% anyway. So we are not going to live long enough to see the end of that number, I don't believe. Whereas Home Depot's a 10-year period, and I believe we're in I believe this is coming into year 5 in that agreement. That's a fixed amount that's $67,000 or $68,000 a year.
You know, the center still has that vacancy. They still have that lot there. Does the owner of the center have any idea what they may want to put there? I mean, that could be a store right there.
Yeah, there are a couple vacancies now, too, even alongside Home Depot. But Dan could probably address that better than I can.
Right, as far as the vacant piece of property or the pad, there's been no takers. They've been working on it. And again, it's got to be a major retailer. That's going to be a build over there. And the current center is under what's referred to as a REIT as well. So the investors of this mall are now willing to take the opportunity to build unless they have a build to suit per se.
Okay. All right. Quick question. Doesn't Jewel pay taxes on the liquor as well to the city? Jewel actually gives additional revenue versus like a Home Depot. Home Depot doesn't sell any liquor or packaged foods. So theoretically, doesn't Jewel give back more to the city?
They even pay food, liquor. I mean, your soda's taxed at the regular rate. Snacks, I think, are taxed at the regular rate.
So in theory, Home Depot is not number 2. Jewel would be in front of them.
I'd have to look at the specifics, but I know Jewel is right up there in the amount that we're getting from them.
Yeah, but you're buying some things at Home Depot that's got a far higher ticket price than anything you're going to sell at Jewel. So I think that's apples and oranges.
I wouldn't be hurt to check. I'd just be curious. So, because Jewel could come back and say, "Oh, we want incentive too, right? We're up there too."
That's
well, the incentive for Walmart was they were either going to move and you were going to leave the parcel vacant, or they were going to redevelop it and do the super Walmart, which brought in the groceries. They had none of the groceries other than just some token groceries prior to that.
Okay.
So in order to protect the base, I mean, there's really no alternative, and it's the best decision we made in my mind.
And then on top of that, they own the building as well.
Right, which would leave it vacant because they don't like selling their property for some Lowe's or somebody else to come in.
Yeah, when they go out of business, they leave a property back for 5 years.
Just so the city council is aware also, and residents, the city gets sales tax information that's public, but it's per category. So we don't get public information, what specifically Jewel makes, that's proprietary. We sign an agreement with the state that allows us, and there's probably, I think, 3 people, probably the treasurer, myself, and possibly the accountant, who can get that information, but it's confidential. So we can't say, here's the sales tax or sales Jewel has, but we can get it in categories of things. Now, Walmart waived that for us so we can get that information. Again, it's only so we can do the calculations. So we can't get specific with those individual sales for companies.
Okay.
Subtotal under operating costs, we budgeted 308,000, and we came in at 34,000 higher at 342,111. Contractual, we were pretty much flat. Total expenditures for community development, 828,246. We came in at $29,000 more at 857,604. For FYE 20, we are looking for maintenance budget requests of $894,801, and we'll spend the rest of the night discussing $800 in discretionary expenditures. Just kidding. Go to the So let's go to page 30. 20-4263, staff conferences training for 600.
Sounds like a Jeopardy question.
Exactly. Any issues with this?
It is $50 higher than last year.
Well, you know,
Getting a little nervous on the extra
yeah, books
50.
are getting expensive, you know.
20-4260, we'll leave it at 20-4265, staff travel expenses, staff local meeting expense, $200. Anybody have any issues with it? Okay. Does anybody want to talk about anything in community development before we move on?
Bathroom break?
I was going to say, that was the next thing on the list. It's 7:50. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Everybody in favor? Go.
I'm not as young as I used to be.
Oh, sorry.
I'm freezing in here now.
Mike turned it
The
down.
open window.
Yep.
Till next week when Chief is back.
And I won't be
So we're going to go right into municipal services.
How long are we gonna go tonight?
Moves
Probably, yeah, 9 o'clock. Do this whole budget in one meeting? Just kidding. Municipal services, personnel, salaries. We budgeted $639,375. We came in at $20,000 higher at $659,253. Overtime, we budgeted $70,000. We came in $15,000 higher at $85,000. So our subtotal for personnel, we budgeted about $710,000. We came in at $744,000, an increase of about $35,000. Under benefits, Social Security, we budgeted $38,000. We came in at $44,000, which is about a $7,000 increase. Medicare, we budgeted just shy of $9,000. We came in about 10.5, an increase of about $1,500. Under IMRF, we budgeted $110,717, but we came in $15,000 less at $95,915. Under medical life insurance, we budgeted $119,000. We came in $6,000 higher at $125,789. Because of the decrease in IMRF, our subtotal for that area was pretty much flat at $279,601. Under operating costs, our maintenance on buildings, we budgeted $341,288. We came in at $41,000 less at $300,000. Under maintenance for vehicles, we budgeted $48,000. However, we came in at $34,000 higher at $82,000. When you go down to vehicle, gas, and oil, we budgeted $60,300, and we came in at $48,000 less, which is a $12,000 savings. Our subtotal for operating costs, we budgeted $755,781, and we came in at $27,000 less at $728,690. Under contractual services, residential concrete program, there's no budget for it. Cost on this was $53,000. Under drainage projects, we budgeted $81,300. We came at $30,000 higher at $111,820. Our subtotal for this section, we budgeted $622,000. We came in at $70,000 higher at $692. But again, $53,000 of that was reimbursed, and that we did not budget for it.
Question for you.
Yes.
So with the residents that were here earlier tonight, and we're telling them that, it depends on our budget and, where we come in on numbers and whatever else the case may be. So we're looking at that we budget $81,300, but then we're over for $111,000. So how do you tell somebody it depends on our budget, and how do we not tell them later on, well, we can't do you, well, knowing this year we went over budget? That just came to my mind as I'm looking at the numbers.
We didn't go over budget.
Okay.
It's reflected in the total expenses, then it's subtracted out of the revenues.
Okay.
So,
all right. I mean, you can see if I'm thinking at that, and they're watching this at home, they might be thinking that. That's why I'm asking the question.
Right.
Okay.
But that's not all rear yard. That's
right.
All drainage projects, right?
There's also some other drainage project, miscellaneous drainage project. I think those were an amount of $9,000 without not looking at the budget.
Okay.
Without the budget book.
But you understand why I'd ask the question, correct?
Sure. Again,
Okay.
those are the accounting rules, and I can't explain that. And either Mike or Brian can probably explain it better than I can.
Look at Michael.
You're on your own here, Dan.
Well, the issue is when we're getting reimbursements, do we show the full expense of all the projects and then take out the revenue, or do we just show our expense? And I think that's what Dan is talking about.
Okay.
So,
all right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah, but I cannot match the two up. We would really have to sit down with Julie, I think, to
We've matched
really
them
get
up.
a match up, because I know you guys have been working on it, but it relates to what I was talking about prior with Brian, where we actually had an expense and income, a negative income, in that expense of $4,800, where we reimbursed the residents from the prior year that overpaid. But yet the reimbursements against this account are sitting, I don't want to say buried, but in a miscellaneous income account with other things. So
yeah, well,
that's the part
what made it complicated this year was we actually received the revenue before May 1st.
Correct.
So it's booked into the previous year because we.
So I cannot swear one way or the other with whether what he's saying is right, aside from what we're budgeting and what's happening. And like I say, as we get into the spreadsheet, then I'll have more questions.
There's a separate spreadsheet that was created to reflect all the expenses, the reimbursements, and that was also prior to May 1st. So everything has been reflected.
Okay.
Is that in here?
That is not in there. Again, it's really just a separate report that, you know, we look at and say, okay, the balances are all here, resident reimbursement, and everything is across the board the way it's supposed to be.
It's available if anybody wants to see it. We'll
Yes.
just give you copies of it.
Okay. We go down to,
As we get into discussing the rest of this year's, I think, once we get on that line item, we can probably talk about it in a little more detail.
as we go down to capital, equipment, 526,900, that's what we came in at. Under total expenditures for municipal services, we budgeted $2,894,283. We came in at $78,000 higher at $2,972,172. As we look at FYE 20, we're looking at maintenance budget requests of $1,730,263, with discretionary items of $963,511, which would make it $2,693,773. Let's turn the page to 39, please. Brian brought something up as we go forward. If you see anything in the little section with an asterisk next to it, we have backup for that, okay, just to let you know. Let's go down to 30-4223. 30-4223 under maintenance and building, $175,450. And let's go under to starting with antenna, painting, public works for $25,000.
Sir, what line item are you on?
We're now on page 40, but we're under 30-4223.
Okay.
We're starting on the asterisks.
Correct.
Items.
Correct, for the expansion or discretionary.
The antenna are the two antennas, the antenna towers that are located at Public Works. Actually, that was an item that was budgeted for this year. We carried it over for the reason that we were going through several contract negotiations with new carriers and relocating, so we kind of wanted to wait to see what was all going to shake up and shake out and where everybody was going. So we're going to put it back in the budget for this year, painting.
Anybody have any questions or issues with it?
So that is, okay, this is, there is 175,000 of discretionary.
No, 25,000 on antenna painting.
Going all the way down the list, it's going to add up to 175.
Yeah, 175.
Anybody have the issue with the antenna painting? Okay. Public Works building design cost share with water department, 25,000, so 12,500 each.
Again, that's an item that was in last year's budget or this year's budget. We currently decided to hold up on that with the development of the Sterling Bay coming in. We wanted to see what opportunities there were to be able to work with them. While we've somewhat solidified that, this relates to the current space allocation to be able to come back and with a design, a conceptual design, and somewhat of a study, and say, okay, this is the opportunities that we have to house, to create or expand our current shop, and to be able to house, additional equipment, including a new roof, which is, consistently leaking. That roof is an obsolete system. So we wanted to make sure we had the opportunity to include everything in there for the possible expansion. This is something that we've also talked for several years about.
Well, last year was in the budget at 20,000, and the backup is in here at 20,000, but we're reflecting at 25.
I put in a little more just based on the site, in case Sterling Bay doesn't pick up something, for grading issues / stormwater issues within the parking lot itself.
Dan, when you say in case they don't pick up something, did they make some commitment?
I'm sorry, there is a commitment. There is they gave us a contribution, I believe, of 50,000, was it, Brian, do you recall?
Yeah,
I believe it was 50,000. Of that 50,000, one of the most important things is the sanitary sewer line. The sanitary sewer line, I believe, is going to be close to 30,000 for the service itself. While there's other opportunities, whether we, the city staff, can install that was one opportunity we were looking at. And in addition to that, we're short on parking, especially during the summer staff. What we were looking at is creating a additional parking space right near the salt bin, which is adjacent to the Sterling Bay property, and pending how the grading works out. So there's a stormwater issue. We'd be creating a bioswale in this case, is what we want to do. So we'd have to work with Sterling Bay in order to make sure that the site works as far as drainage goes. And we also have a drainage issue where we currently have our bins. They're again there in the rear of those bins. If you were to see it, water collects there. Depending on what the grading issue itself is, we may need to install additional storm sewers and filter baskets to capture that water from the spoils.
So Sterling Bay would cost us more money to fix the runoff?
I'm sorry?
Where would this additional runoff come from, the parking lot from Sterling Bay?
No, from us. It's all from us. Currently, the way it drains right now, it doesn't drain properly. While it drains, the sediment goes towards the back, in which we have straw bales there that are set up, and periodically we remove those straw bales, change them out, clean that ditch/weir, but that ditch, part of that ditch weir is also on Sterling Bay's property, and they're going to be redoing that whole thing back there.
Anybody got any issues with it? Okay, we'll leave it in. Swing Gate, Plant 4, cost share with Water Department, $7,000 divided by 2, which is $3,500 each.
And in a nutshell, what this is if you recall, we've added 3 sheds along at this plant. In order to, the way the orientation of the sheds is, it'd be more convenient if we were able to put in these swing gates, so when the guys come up, pull up there, they can just put their truck, the back end of the truck, for example, next to these swing gates, open up the swing gate as well as the actual shed, load or unload the seasonal equipment that they're putting in there, or seasonal decorations. Whereas if on the other side, due to the grade, we would have to walk all that, and it's a little bit of it's on a hill, so to be able to get around is not the best solution.
So you're talking where the current fencing is, you'd put swing gates there.
Correct.
Because right now you got to walk all the way around.
Correct.
Anybody got any issues with it? Okay.
I'm going back to that cost share with the Public Works. You said cost share with water. So the 25 is not split. It's each one is contributing 25.
No, the 25 is split.
12.5 each.
25 total.
Which is 12.5. Yeah, I think you're
I'm
looking
sorry,
at
I'm looking
you're
at
looking
the
at the
wrong-
antenna.
I'm looking at the wrong number. I'm sorry. My error.
All right, Darien Historical Society Foundation repair for 30 grand.
As part of an agreement that we've had, anything over $5,000, the city of Darien would be looking at the infrastructure cost. In this particular case, the foundation at the Historical Society is cracked in in one particular location, in which case the water is filtering through the wall and causing additional damage to the carpet, and could obviously cause mold and so on and so forth.
It's in the basement of the...
This is in the basement, correct, I'm sorry, on the foundation wall.
Yeah. My only issue, Dan, I've had not personal experience, but I've had some friends' personal experience. The quote came through U.S. Waterproofing.
Correct.
And I would assume we would go out for bids because they sometimes can be on the high end of things.
That is correct. We wanted to make sure we were somewhat conservative at the same time. If things got worse, or once we opened up the wall, that there was additional cracks or fatigues that needed to be addressed. Obviously, we can't see everything, but we want to make sure there was.
Yeah,
enough.
they have different walls, don't they?
The society looks like
Block walls, if I'm not
They had that a
mistaken.
while ago.
They have a concrete wall on one side, but they have
November.
cinder blocks
August.
on other sides.
There's water leaking in there right now.
Yes.
Currently.
Yes.
So does the city own it? I mean, we don't put the Lions Club's shed up, so we're responsible for the Historical Society's basement.
Yeah,
and
this was
upkeep?
something that the city council had decided a couple of years ago. I went through quite a discussion on costs that were over $5,000 is what it came to, that the city would be picking up those types of costs. We don't own the building. The school district owns the building. Again, through this
It
agreement.
was right before your time on the city council.
Yeah, I mean, the Lions Club does fundraisers, or Rotary Club does fundraisers to raise money, so I see them, paying for their own, and now the city is paying for the historical society. How are they different than?
We had extensive discussions about that. My recommendation at the time was we take it over completely, and it becomes our property, and we maintain it. But the Historical Society chose they wanted to stay independent and have this relationship with us, and we agreed at that time that when they got to major issues, in fact, we went in. We've gone in a couple times to take extensive looks at the inside of the building. There was lots of work that needed to be done with insulation.
There was a grocery list that was developed. Of that grocery list, there was.
And so we agreed. The council agreed on that relationship with the Historical Society. We felt it was that important to contribute and keep that
Tom,
they contribute or raise money for themselves as well. I just feel like certain organizations are picked and chosen to get $30,000 versus the Lions Club paying for their own shed. So I'm just trying to
their fundraising all go. They showed us their budget. Their fundraising all goes towards
maintenance of the things that are in there.
Their record, not their record keeping, but their their historic
archiving
and things like that. They don't raise a lot of money. They really don't.
How much of Darien have visited? I mean, is it really utilized as much? I'm just asking the question.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Well, so the school district owns it. We would never be able. Was the school district going to give it to us, or how?
They were part of the discussion. They were willing to. Yes.
Unload it.
Yeah.
Anybody,
Joe? Because we're starting to climb numbers where it's so costly to keep that thing running. At what point do you say that the building's become beyond its useful life? I mean, it's historical, and I get it, and I kind of cringe when using the words I'm talking about. But we've put a new roof, we've put a new furnace in there in the last 5 years, right?
No, we didn't put the furnace. They got that donated to them.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, but it was still an item that needed to be taken care of. At what point are we, throwing? As Alderman, I've always heard you say, throwing good money after bad.
I guess it's a philosophical thing. Do you think it's worth it to the city to have a facility like that?
I mean, they pay for all their maintenance under $5,000. They do all their own landscaping costs and all that. We put in about $54,000, I think, up till now. That was with the roof. That was the tuck pointing, the painting on the outside, painting on the inside, carpeting in the basement. So I think we've taken all care of a lot of their needs already, Joe. They gave us a laundry list that first year, you might remember.
Oh, I remember that.
And then we budgeted that money, and we took care of all those projects. And this is just the latest. I don't know if they really have any more than what this is.
And it's water. And, to Mike's point, it could be bid out and come in quite a bit cheaper too to make these repairs.
Right.
Yeah. There might be
That's correct. Our goal was to at least get a hold of companies for budgetary purposes to be able to say, okay, what is your best estimate on the conditions that are present? And we go back out to bid for every single item, whether it's a competitive quote and or a bid.
I mean. Go ahead.
I was going to say, how many people go and visit the Historical Society? So how I look at it is, I don't know, maybe 4,000 people see fireworks and we spend $5,000, and maybe only 100 people go to the Historical Society and we're putting $30,000. So I'm just curious how many residents use the society versus how many funds we're putting at it.
Well, and they're in-house. They're getting themselves into the 21st century here with trying to get everything online, so people would do research through the materials that they have at the Historical Society online, which would be another way for them to be useful to our residents and to citizens. So it's not a case of how many visitors are walking through the door. It's like I said, I think it's a philosophical
I know, like
issue.
the scouts would go. I know we went there with them. I don't know about student groups, but the from my perspective, like as a city that doesn't have a town center per se. It's about the only sort of landmark type building in Darien.
And it's adjacent to our city center, technically, right there.
So
their hours are limited, that's for sure, right? I believe.
Well, they've opened up. They're opened up more often
Double
now.
their hours.
Are they? Okay.
Twice a month.
Twice a month?
Yes.
Did you?
And they have
Okay.
that Christmas tree in front of it,
So
too.
40 hours a month.
But Mayor, you're right. It was philosophical, back then, and it's the same. I think the city council, didn't at that point view that as like a not-for-profit like the Lions or other clubs that would for service things. They viewed it as quasi-city
A museum.
type of a museum.
At least I do. I know
And some communities, they don't fund the Lions Club and fund these, but some do fund their own museum or historical. And I think at that point, that's why it was looked at just a bit different than just donating to other organizations. Because really, well, we don't do that much. We do, the trolley for the Lions Club, but that's really for the kids in the Halloween parade. But I think there was a lengthy discussion when that came up about, well, what are we going to contribute? But it was viewed at that time philosophically a bit different than other organizations, if that helps at all.
Okay, so more like a museum, more history of Darien.
Yes.
How about Naperville, Downers Grove, Willowbrook? Do any of them also have a historical society, or you can?
I think Downers Grove had the one off of Maple.
Yeah, they had a private developer move the
Somebody
house.
had it in their park district too, I think.
What's that?
Somebody had their park district owned the museum. I forget which one when we were looking
I
at
don't know
it.
if Willowbrook has anything, do they?
No, Willowbrook has nothing like that. Naperville, that's part of their village, their city.
We looked at that 5 or 6 years ago when this came up. We have not looked at it since to know what communities have that or contribute.
The state has a museum, the State Museum in Springfield.
So would this more than likely be the last thing that get fixed, as Alderman Kinney mentioned?
There's not much left to do, like from the building envelope.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it.
That would be top to bottom, I think.
And that's my question, Dan, is what kind of shape is the building in now?
Right. I mean, best on what we can tell right now, this is probably the last biggest repair. I mean, we've done painting, we've done carpet replacements, ceiling tiles, roof, tuck pointing. We did some concrete work last year. So as far as major expenses go, I really don't see anything else, short of the windows starting to crack. That's probably
But that makes it look authentic.
well, again, yeah, windows will be the biggest expense. Do you go and find a company that restores windows to their original?
Yeah, 'cause you're not throwing vinyl in there.
No, it's, so, again.
With the 50th anniversary, I'd assume probably more people would visit it this year as well.
Yeah, maybe they can do more with it with the 50th anniversary. Have it open more and maybe plan some events around it or something.
Well, they put together, Kathy and I saw a booklet that they put together at the dinner.
The Sunday dinner.
They actually wrote out a description of the history of the city of Darien. And they talked about all the economic development things that have changed. So they are good at archiving and creating information like that. They did the book, the Darien book, that is now available over at. They sell that, but they also sell it over at Barnes and Noble as well. They make some money off of that as well.
Keep it in? All in favor? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
That wasn't a very agreeable grunt there.
It's a real estate agent who's got that house in his ward. That's the grunt.
Okay, replace office window at Public Works for $7,700.
What kind of window is that?
Dan?
Is that a question?
Yeah, the window is, again, the window is part of the Public Works. It's older window since the building was there, stormwater, rain events. During rain events, water pours in through the actual window. The window does need to be replaced, removed and replaced.
It's
Got it replaced even though we might replace the building.
Well, I won't say, we're not going to replace the entire building. We're going to add on to the building. The building will not be replaced. Oh, I'm sorry. I did use the word will. I'm sorry. But the window is something that's it does need immediate maintenance.
You don't want to put a bucket under there and catch through the water?
We do on the ceiling tiles currently, and the buckets aren't big enough for the window.
They're gonna throw a shower in there and
Hey, there you go.
Hey, Dan, what do you need the $2,000 for the vents? What do the vents add to the window functionality? It says you can save $2,000 without vents.
But to open a window.
Yeah. Oh, it's just operability. Right. Okay.
Any issues? Okay. Police department training room counter R&R for 5,000.
I have a question on that one, because that one looks like it's purely cosmetic. 'Cause I mean, we have our police pension meetings in there, and you're talking about the sink and everything that's on the front wall, and just saying because we remodeled last year and the colors don't match now?
No, it's basically in the chief's office, in the chief's.
No, it's
I'm
not.
sorry, this is the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this one is, yeah, it is somewhat cosmetic. The answer is yes.
Okay, so.
Yeah, after recent painting and carpet install at the PD, the counter should be updated to match the new colors within the room, so.
That was some of the police department had recommended, put forth back to us, so.
Okay, I mean, it's small, but to me, it's just a cosmetic thing if we're looking at saving anything.
Wait, $5,000? This is not small? Oh, but the pricing is different, right?
No, it's 5. I think, well, I don't look at the detail.
estimates.
So we're talking about saving $5,000 if we pull this?
Well,
How do we get to 5,000?
yeah, because the estimates are like, I see one for 1381, 1532, and 2148. So where did the 5,000 number come from?
We put 5,000 in for, besides the countertop, in case there was also for the cabinet, there's a cabinet underneath that one, cabinetry.
So you have to replace the sink and everything.
Plumbing.
Anything else you need. It's probably on the high side, but
Again, yeah, the $5,000 was just, okay, let's put 5,000 in there to make sure we're all covered. Is it gonna come in at 4,000 or 3,500?
I like these big numbers, 5, 10, 30.
No, well, we wanted to make sure we're covered, and, I mean, if something wrong with the plumbing, the carpeting underneath there, we need to add carpeting, patch drywall.
we already had to fix a valve that's for the outside. There's an outside spigot just outside that wall in there, so the plumbing isn't great in there. We might end up having to throw some valves in there in order to be able to shut it off. So we had an ice situation last winter.
You mean that would be part of this work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we looked at, we just didn't say, okay, let's just do the countertops. Let's look at the entire wall in case.
I guess the description doesn't really match everything that you're describing.
Well, we could put in, the miscellaneous, use contingency or miscellaneous, but we figured that $5,000 was a fair cost, that it wouldn't be above that.
How bad is it right now?
Beauty's in the eyes of the beholder. I mean, some of the police
That's what it
department-
sounds to me, just more a color match than anything. Because I've never noticed anything when we've had our meetings. Again, I don't know whether there's any issues with leaking and that type of thing, but.
As far as structurally, the answer is no. This is,
Well, the plumbing, Dan, I mean, we don't know, it's not like underneath the walls, they have wet stains or
No.
anything, so.
No. But once we start taking the countertop apart, you've got the issue with the sink, the plumbing, so on and so forth.
So you can create problems if you need to.
Spend 5,000.
No matter what I'm saying, still,
This is definitely a different angle from the council. I see everybody's eyes on this one. I'm having a feeling.
Sounds like
Currently-
sounds like this is getting pulled, man.
it's aesthetics at best.
Anyway,
So there's no denying that.
I face that way.
oh, because you're at the front of the room.
Front, yeah.
Who wants to pull this out, the $5,000?
I do.
Because the way they have
What?
the table set up, you would be behind.
All right.
them.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
5,000's out, guys. We're crossing this off. City Hall office painting, bathroom, and tiling for 34,000.
Bottom line is, this city hall here, obviously the council chambers has been done. Upstairs, it's tiles that's fallen off the wall, tiles that are cracked in the bathrooms. The painting is outdated, so it needs to be freshened up is the bottom line.
Which bathrooms?
The bathroom, men's and women's upstairs, here for the administration.
You have 2 of each upstairs. You have them in the hallway as well as in the office area, right?
I'm sorry, yeah,
So
and the
there's
ones that are being addressed as far as with the tile are the ones directly above us, which is in the administrative. If anything's going to be happening in the other ones, it's basically a painting of the walls. We didn't paint the walls last time in there.
So it's not just tiling. I'm assuming we're going to redo the whole bathrooms, everything too, right?
The partitions, I think the partitions need to go. There's some of in the men's room, they're somewhat rusted. So one of the partitions need to be removed and replaced.
So basically, we're looking at $17,000 per bathroom.
Again, this is a combination of everything. If you're dissecting it, I believe.
No, it's also you're painting the whole upstairs, though.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Trim.
Just the bathroom are being painted.
But also, the
No, the
entire
upstairs.
office.
Whole office.
The whole
area.
office.
Yes.
And that's all for 34,000.
So that doesn't seem bad.
So it's not just the bathrooms,
I
it's
thought it
also
was
the
the
painting?
Right, I'm sorry, yeah, somebody asked the
No,
question,
the detail.
particularly the bathrooms. The bathrooms are being tiled, repainted, partitions removed and replaced as required.
Okay.
64.
As far as the, everything outside the bathroom, the offices, all the offices, the hallways are all being repainted, including the window trim that's in place
I
there.
think it's well worth it, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, gotcha.
That includes the sauna right outside your office.
That's the hot
With a
tub.
diving board. With a diving board, yes.
Okay. No issues with it? Okay. Replace office chairs at Public Works, 5,500. Half to water, 13 chairs, so 2,750 each. We're talking 13 chairs?
Correct.
Are those old ones that you guys have had that
The hand-me-downs that we've had from City Hall back to
the
Public
80s
Works.
almost?
Yes.
Okay. I have no issues with that. I've seen those things.
It's ugly.
All right. Replace elevator City Hall FYE 20, Police Department FYE 22 for 55,000.
What are you talking, is there, you're gonna replace the one over in the police department also?
Yes.
That's the third year,
That's
as part
year
of
two.
this.
Not gonna have.
We
this on
identified it so we could see it in the future, but this year it is just the
City Hall one?
City Hall.
Okay.
Again, if anyone's familiar with the elevator here, we do have problems with it. It's very dated. I would refer to it as a dumbwaiter versus an elevator. You know, and it's, if you ever were in it, I think there's, you would go in it and say, is this thing going to make it down the way it squeaks? And you have to basically hold the key and press the button in order to get somebody up or down. So
It is going to be a similar style.
yeah, similar
That's
style.
what's there because there's no other way to put a
Space.
full-on elevator in there.
Yeah.
But
So it would make.
it would be
this-
more reliable, much more
And it would
reliable.
make this ADA accessible.
Yeah. Yes.
well, we're accessible.
Well,
now.
we're accessible.
We're just having a lot of maintenance. If, you know,
Yeah.
we've had meetings where all of a sudden, for, I guess, wiring or other problems, all of a sudden it just doesn't work. We had one of the big meetings here recently. We tested it at noon because we knew somebody had contacted us saying they would need, to get down in the basement. They were in a wheelchair. Worked at noon, didn't work at 6:30 when the meeting started. And there's, we had somebody look at it, and that's the recommended time to get it fixed.
It's a reliability
How old is
issue.
this
at
building?
best. This part of it used to be a house.
1997, this building was redone.
Okay, so 21.
So
This was
that's
part of a.
right.
This was part of a house at that point.
Yeah.
if I'm not
2 years
mistaken.
old.
And looking out into the third year, we've estimated 110,000 for the elevator at the PD.
They're utilizing the shaft that we have now, just building around it, right? They don't have to do any major renovation
Correct.
to that shaft?
Correct.
Leave it in.
No issues? Okay.
So we're down to 170,000.
450. Okay. 30-4225 tornado sirens for $5,250.
Sorry, let me.
30-4225, 4225.
The next section down.
Right below plow blades.
What's interesting is there's,
Back up on that one, but-
yeah, what's interesting is that it's 2,000 under maintenance and then 5,250 under discretionary for 7,250 total.
We'll have to double check that. I just don't recall with no backup.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Okay, no problems. Tub grinder for 6,200.
Sorry, Chris, we haven't had any problems with that, right?
No, I think the 2,000 is the normal maintenance. I
Yes.
don't know what the 50
So we
is.
should kill.
I'm sorry, guy. There was something in here that says 5 ground temperature sensors. It just did not print out properly.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
we'll
that's
have to
the
look at-
5250.
So it's
That was
description.
for the 5250s.
Okay.
Tornado sirens are really only 2,000. There is one item that's missing that are the temperature sensors, because I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the temperature sensors are things that we can mount on the big trucks, the big snowplow trucks, and they actually give us a reading of the road temperature, which is important because when we're talking about the effectiveness of all the different products that we use, you know, and the right times to put them down and apply them, you really need a lot of people will tell you, oh, you know, you see on the news, oh, air temperature, it's 10 degrees outside, but that's not what the road temperature is. You know, and the road's going to be a lot colder than the ground is and the air is because you have that frost line underneath there. So you have to be getting that accurate, you know, reading so that everybody knows what to do, I think is really helpful. So, and we're incorporating these on the new trucks that we're having built, but this helps retrofit the other 5 trucks.
This is a case in point to expound from yesterday when we're talking about when do we use the certain products. I'm sorry, Chris, that was from the city council meeting yesterday.
Saves like things like salt, so you know that we're not going to throw salt out if it's a certain temperature.
Correct.
Because it's just a waste.
Or vice versa, yes.
Geomelt.
Right.
Where do they attach?
A lot of them get mounted off of the. I think these would be, I think, off of the mirror. If I'm not 100% on that, but they mount them on the mirror and then they route a cable, or some of them are wireless. We've looked at several different models, so we kind of put the high end in here in order to give us enough in there to make that decision and further refine, you know, a decision made. But you know, and it's shining right down on the pavement, giving you that reading.
Okay, so
And
it's
then inside the cab,
I
it's
gotcha.
giving the guys a reading. Whereas now it'll be on the new trucks that we're having built. It's all incorporated so that they see it right on the controls where they're adjusting how much salt they're wanting to put down, how much per lane mile, and all those different adjustments. It's showing them that. And now that everybody's making better decisions, so the guys out there can report back to me, hey, yeah, I know you said it's to do this, but this is probably what we need to do. This is what we're seeing happen. So,
Okay, and they were called temperature.
road temperature sensors, yes.
We owe you backup on that because it's not in there.
Okay.
And I'm looking at this spreadsheet and it is,
How many of
yeah,
them?
just the error there. We also-
5 of them.
Also, it's not showing, but we have it in discretionary, it's the planter irrigation for the clock tower at 1900. It's just not showing on that spreadsheet either.
And the planter, and just, and I'm sorry, I know Brian's going to adjust that. What the planter irrigation is, when we originally put irrigation system at the clock tower, Miss MacGyver, can I help you?
I'm just looking.
You know, we at the time, we had done all the grass, the turf area. The planters were not included for that. The planters are something that are vital to everything, and we have to put in additional heads to be able to make sure we have the proper coverage of the plantings.
So that's also, you said 1,900 on that?
Yeah, that would, that total of the discretionary then is 7,150. Which would include the 1,900.
Anybody got any issues with it? All right, we'll leave it in. Okay. 30-4243 under rent, tub grinder for 6,200. This is obviously for the double grind, correct?
That is correct.
How much?
Actually, the
Sales are approximately, I want to say they were 3,000. It's not a break even. This year is not a break even. I believe we're $1,500 addition above and beyond what sales were.
But if we don't get the double grinder, and people don't buy it, what do we have to do? We have to get rid of it somehow, and it's cost.
Can't get rid of them. You can't get rid of them off of our lot without double grinding them, regardless.
Okay.
That's all part of like the Emerald Ash borer.
Okay, gotcha.
I may surprise Dan on this one, but I think I'm going to be very much in support of this. The only question I have is the tub grinder. I imagine it's a fairly intense grinding. Are there a lot of repairs, a lot of parts that go on those things, or are they pretty dependable?
Yes, I mean, we rent it. It's a big piece of machinery. The size of the machinery, just the dish itself, is probably as big as this room right here. It's probably a good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We don't. If they have a breakdown, they stop the clock. So we're not paying for them to
No,
repair.
but I mean, if we buy it, is there a lot of maintenance?
Oh, it'd be, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
Blades,
And storage. We would need a bigger building in order to
Because
store.
currently we're paying about, because we
We're
go
gonna
out
need
for,
a
we
bigger
go out
building.
for quotes, and there were,
Need a bigger boat for Jaws.
there were 3 places that were doing it. Now I think we're down to 2 that bid, and it's about $400 an hour, and we usually use it for 3 or 4 hours. So the annual cost of renting it is probably about $4,500, $4,500 to $5,000. So by buying it for $6,200 makes a lot of sense. But again, I don't know, is it going to cost us $10,000 additional in parts? That's the only question I have.
This is still just to rent it.
Oh, this is-
This isn't to buy it. I think this is just to
Yeah.
approve
Oh.
continuing on with renting it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because that machine costs new would be what,
Oh, I-
4,000,
I
5,000?
would imagine
We
over
wouldn't
100.
even, I don't think I'd even entertain that, just from a maintenance standpoint.
Okay, got it.
Wow, we're up on you one, Mike, thanks.
No, but you're chasing good money
I thought you
after
wanted to
good
buy, I
because-
was willing to buy one for $6,000.
No, but
Golly,
you're,
listen to
but you're chasing,
That's why I thought it
you're
was a
saying you're
great deal.
chasing good money after good because if you got to get even, you have to double grind it to get it off off of municipal
property, yeah.
services.
And
Exactly.
it is still a service the residents really appreciate, I think. So.
Right. Okay, we'll leave it in. Okay, so we're going down.
If there's consideration, to up the cost of the sales, again, I just want to put that
Then
out
who
there.
buys them?
Residents.
Well, I thought they got them for free.
If they pick them
They
up.
can pick them up for
Oh,
free.
okay.
If we deliver them, they
Oh,
pay.
so they're really they're paying for the delivery.
Yes. Well, whatever way you want to look at it, there was some philosophy that we
Yeah.
had discussed on that, and
Yeah, okay.
that was the conclusion we came to.
We also use them for the municipal services buildings. We use them here. We use them on the median,
75th, yeah.
for the trees and for the planting areas. So we use them quite around town.
Okay, let's go down to 30-4257. We're going to go to page 41 and start with barricade rental for July 4th for 1,000. Any issues with it? Okay. Solar speed limit signs, 5,000 per sign, 2 signs.
Is this in addition or
Yes,
replacing?
this was something from Alderman MacGyver's ward. There was a
I
couple.
didn't ask for 'em.
Sorry.
I
This
just-
is
I
two-
didn't
These
ask
are
for
two
'em.
new ones. in
Right, they're
addition
two
to what
new
we did.
ones for Alderman MacGyver's ward. If there was a couple residents that had asked for additional, and we said we would include them for
I know I asked
budget.
one. I know I asked one for Darien Club and never saw one, so maybe that's what we're talking about.
We're not putting it in Darien Club. We found
Right.
there was no issue.
Where are they going?
Beller,
There's already 2 on Bell.
Yeah, we have.
correct?
There's 2 more?
Well, there was gonna be at least one more. We decided to put one more in there just because of how long Beller is. Again, if you would like to have it removed, there's no,
Well, okay, like, first of all, I didn't bring this forward, so,
no, and I'm not saying you did.
My name on it.
One of your residents,
Yeah.
one of your residents, and my response was that we would include additional solar signs for the budget this year.
you told them, you promised them?
I told them that we would include it, whether or not it would be.
Oh, so I think the signs are great because they work really well. I think that, where you place them is kind of up to you to decide, or the,
Right,
police
that's
or
why
whatever.
we looked at, there was one we could use for sure. My thought on it was that we should probably put two on there on Beller because of the stretch of the road, right near, coming off of, not 87th, Plainfield 83rd Street there. About halfway up.
Before the stop sign?
Yes.
I mean, the park is there, but
Dan, what typically happens? We'll get requests periodically. They're speeding down my street.
Right, well-
And the first step is typically we'll do a study to see.
Correct.
So we'll get an idea of the counts, the traffic, how fast it's going or not. And in some cases, we might not put them up.
Yeah.
But there is some data that we gather.
Yeah, I mean, it's up to-
preceding where they go.
yeah, I would say that they definitely are effective. I've noted, I definitely have noticed that. Although the residents at Rolling Knolls say that I guess one of them you were there, can see one of the signs here on Manning. Through her window, and she says she'll just watch like people going 50, 55 or whatever in these like 25-mile-an-hour zones. So even though they're there sometimes,
We've seen both sides of it,
Yeah.
where it becomes It is effective overall. Yes, there's still going to be speeders and,
And I believe.
you know,
I mean,
I know what you're talking about, but I know the area too. I drive through there all the time, obviously, and it's been effective even with me. I mean,
Yeah.
I
Oh,
catch,
I think
I catch myself.
Right, I do too.
But I really question the need for two more
two
over
more
there.
over
Because
there.
there's even a stop sign
Yeah.
there before you get to 83rd Street. So there's these signs, maybe a couple blocks before you get to the stop sign, and then the stop sign, and maybe 2 blocks before you get to 83rd. So I just don't see on the long stretch between Lamont and where they are now.
yeah, I mean,
we have not received any more concerns or complaints on speeding within the last 5-6 months. Again, these were from my notes that I had put into for
Yeah.
budget consideration, so I wanted to put it in there based on what the complaints, the concern was.
yeah, I would say I would support budgeting, and if you don't buy them, you don't have a need or you don't buy them. But because I think within the city proper, if there's another location, you know, I think that they are effective.
Well, if anything, we could just, you know, downscale it to 1, do the traffic surveys in a couple different spots to determine where and if it would be effective, and come back to city council or committee and report our findings.
These are pretty permanent structures. You can't, you can't be moving them around.
No,
right?
they could be moved.
You have 2 of them on 67th Street right now.
4.
4.
Is it 4?
Yes, 2 each way.
Yeah, you probably want.
I
you
walk
would-
past
why-
it.
you
In
would
my
probably want
area,
two.
it's
You
only
probably
2.
want one each
Only
way.
2 in
It's
my
only
area.
two.
It's a little further west. There's
That's, and like I said, the purpose of 2 was to have them right across the street from each other.
What's that?
I could use 2 more on 67th Street.
Yes, well, you know, it's the length of the road that makes the speeders speed.
Again, and Bellor is a fairly extensive roadway, and
It
last year,
curves, it's kind of goes,
Yeah.
correct.
but,
Yeah.
but like
It's
I said,
up to, you know, again, it's up to the,
yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem supporting 2 of them, and then if you need them, you have a place.
where you need 'em.
Yeah,
Just
and if
stand
you don't need
outside
them, you
like
don't spend
this.
the money, I guess.
Joanne?
I have a question, Dan. Even though these are solar signs, they still require a battery. How expensive are the batteries in there? Because I know I've reported on 67th Street a couple of times that they've been out, they're not working. What is the cost for the battery?
what is it, Chris?
I think it's like $60.
So it's
Yeah,
not-
it's not a
not very
no.
And
expensive.
keep in mind, the reason we do get the extra batteries is due to the positioning and due to the amount of sunlight, the solar panels in some cases will turn off.
Okay.
Which case drains the batteries, so we in turn have how many batteries do we have?
I think we probably 8 extra batteries or something at this point.
Because I know whenever I see one that's out, I let Lisa know right away, or
Regina.
Regina.
Right,
rather.
this was the first time that we've actually had the solar panels, not some of them. You know, so we repositioned them as well.
Mine are always on.
Yeah, again, a Manning Road will seem to be a problem. 67th, a couple spots, whether it's the trees or the orientation the way it was, and it has to be set at what, 24?
It's like 25 degrees southwest.
How many of
pretty
the
specific.
stop signs throughout the city are solar?
Stop signs?
Yeah.
4.
I mean, the flashers,
Yeah,
like
the
we
fla-
have
the-
by
yeah,
the
the solar
school
flashing.
on Manning.
67 to Clarendon Hills Road.
67 Clarendon Hills Road and 6 on Manning and Fairview.
Yeah.
I think those are pretty effective too in dark areas, you know, at night. So maybe it's just like,
You know, but with all due respect, while they are, depending where you place them, the flashing lights sometimes have the effect on bedrooms and/or living quarters. I know with these solar, we moved a couple of them based on their request.
So should we leave them in?
Yep.
Okay.
One quick comment. I remember a few years ago, Willowbrook had that trailer that had a speedometer on it and it flashed as well. Do we have one of those as well? Or
The police department did
Yeah,
have
we've
one,
seen-
and
I've
it
seen that.
ended up
9
with
o'clock
more
on this.
problems, and we tried a couple of different
No,
things, and
I'm
these
gonna
seem to
cut
be
it
the
off
most
right here.
reliable
If I
at this
can get
point.
that
That's why we switched over to this too. I think this helps.
I did receive a complaint on Farmingdale between 75th and 79th, people cutting across. So I did receive that last week. Someone mentioned to me. So you can take a look at it.
Sorry.
On Farmingdale between 75th, so Our Lady Peace going south to 79th, there was a few residents that didn't complain.
If you have a
this year about
specific
it.
address, why don't you forward that address to
Okay.
me, and then what we could do is set up the counters and provide a report, and then once
Okay.
the report is generated, we'll go through our protocol.
Okay.
Tom, did you say the complaint was a cut through or speeding?
Speeding.
Speeding.
Speeding. But
Yeah, Farmingdale from 75th to 79th is a long
Yeah.
stretch.
Again, these signs could be placed in your ward, for example, if the justification is defined.
yeah, usually police will stand out there. That helps too.
Okay, so we're going to leave that in? Okay, so let's go down to 30-4259. Concrete and pipe structure saw, 4K, half to water, 2K. Obviously, it's a necessity, correct?
Yes.
It's an operating tool.
Okay.
And it's a good tool based on the research that Chris has provided back to me along with the literature.
Do we have one already?
No.
So this is something new.
Yes.
Any issues with it? Okay. Skid steer, auger, and stump grinder, 11K, half to water for 5,500.
This is another attachment that we has the opportunity to, for an auger. Currently, we use different methodologies on augering, and that auger is utilized for mailbox posts. As you know, we have a program that we install mailboxes for residents, which has been an excellent program, number one. And it'll save time with this auger on the Bobcat. And the second item on this is the stump grinder. The stump grinder will give us the ability after a tree is taken down, depending on how many trees, depending on the circumstance, that we'll be able to do our own stump grinding versus either A, renting and or B, outsourcing. And I just want to be careful on the outsourcing. If we were to get something to the effect of an emerald ash board disease, well, I will not tell you that we're going to go and stump all these areas. So it's limited, but we think it's well worth the justification over the course of the year. Especially when we pay I believe it's $90 or $110 this year for stump grinding.
Per tree?
Yes.
Any issues with it? Okay. Let's go down to contractual services, Dale Basin Wetland Management burn, 9,250.
My only question is, we had that in there last year too. Do we do the burn every year?
We didn't do the burn last. Well, I'd have to double check. I know we got the other basins. I'm maybe confusing all the basins, but we do look at the basins are burned once every 3 years.
That's what I thought.
Right. Dale Basin. I'd have to double check, but I know
last
that
year's
there's
says
some.
Dale also.
I'm sorry?
Last year's budget does say Dale as well.
We didn't burn it potentially. I know there was some issues with how wet it was, so it may not have been a total burn or a total successful burn. With that said, we didn't pay that entire amount either. But Dale Basin is, since it has so many cattails, it's very difficult to burn that type of material. But we do need to burn it in order to get rid of the sedimentation and or the plantings that are on the bottom.
Yeah, no, I'm just questioning. I know they're typically done every few years, and I just saw it 2 years back to back.
Yeah, and I'll double check that. Again, I know there was some problems with last year. And I know we did Terra Hill. We do one of the 3 basins every year at Terra Hill, so I don't want to confuse my facts, and I'll look up Dale Basin.
Okay, so keep that in there. Guys, my plan is to get to 30-4373, and then contractual service will come back at the next meeting, so we're getting pretty close. So let's go to 30-4350 under forestry. And the total discretionary is 61,811, going all the way down. But let's start with, you got fertilization, 75th Street, fertilization, City Hall, Public Works Facility, fertilization for the basins, 7375, fertilization, landscape beds, roadside city entrances, 240, turf area, 211, clock tower mulch beds 186, fertilization tree 75th Street 50, and then we go down to mulch area 75th Street planters. Well, here's the question that I have. Discretionary is showing 1,000, but we have maintenance of 3150, and then under mulch areas entranceway signs we have maintenance of 1575, but discretionary of 1,000.
And in a nutshell, let me kind of explain the program first, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
What we did this year is we just went out to bid, and recently it was approved, pending budget approval. All this work now is approved, pending, again, budget. We have, over the course of the years, increased our fertilization, whether it's the basins, also the maintenance of 75th Street with the planters, the clock tower, the city hall with the brand new landscaping. And with that said, the landscaping for the city hall is separate because that's part of a 3-year agreement. With everything here, we have broken out everything this time, whereas last year it was all in different accounts. Whether it was building maintenance, forestry, whatever the case is. We took all our fertilization services, all our mulching services, and or potential plantings, maintenance for these areas, and put them into one area, so everything is there now. They also have project numbers. The funds that are included in here are per the actual contracts itself for the maintenance. The maintenance does include, let's do for an example, well, the fertilization is pretty much self-explanatory. The fertilization of the mulch beds, for example. Obviously, the mulch that we use is from the chips that we grind, double grind. A lot of times, those chips have certain contaminants in them. And when I say contaminants, weeds. So those have to be maintained, sprayed, pulled, or whatever the case is. So that's one example of a service that's being included so we can make sure that the planters are healthy looking all year long. Also, we have contingencies in there. Those contingencies are to remove and replace plantings or even potentially add plantings, say for a spring theme or a summer theme.
And you're saying contingency, is that the discretionary?
I'm sorry, discretionary, yeah.
So if, we have that base maintenance, but as we're mulching now, we're finding plants that are dead or things we need to replace. That's really more of the
right. That's
the other side of that.
Anybody got any issues with it? Okay, let's go to page 42. Tree replacement 75th Street for 2,000.
That's pretty much standard protocol. It's always been an item that's been in discretionary. Again, I think due to accidents, hit and runs, I think there's, 3 of them that are down now, Chris? So, sometimes we do catch them, other times we don't, and obviously we borne that expense.
Catch the guy that got the 2 trees coming out of the Chestnut Court?
Yes.
Yeah, not Chestnut Court.
By
Town Center,
yes. Yeah, and then the smaller ones, nobody got no one, so it's irony of it sometime.
Okay, so residential 50/50 program, 2,000, that's pretty standard that we do, correct?
That is correct.
Residential 50/50 program city portion, $4,000. General tree replacement, 27,500. This is for the parkway trees, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, most of the trees that we had from before, this number is down because we've gotten rid of most of the EAB ones, correct?
That's correct. Also, we don't have any type of EAB program in place. We're currently just doing a wait and see and monitoring, waiting for additional studies to come out of universities, University of Michigan in particular.
The difference between the trees replacements on 75th Street and the general tree,
The trees on 75th Street are of a larger caliper, whereas the other trees are 2.5-inch caliper, and the trees on 75th Street are 4-inch calipers.
And did they get knocked down easy?
There's 3 of them that are down right now. As a matter of fact, 3 of them are probably front in your ward on 75th Street.
Okay.
So could I ask a follow-up question on the EAV, the ash borers? So is the thought process that it's not effective, the treatment, or that they no longer need to be treated? What is the...
I say no longer to be treated, and again, that's based on studies that are currently in place. They're looking at, the final study has not come out, whether or not any additional treatment is required. The sales reps for the EAB treatments are pushing it without any substantiation behind it. I'm currently waiting for a couple of the universities to come back. University of Michigan, I believe it was Michigan. I'm not sure. University of Michigan was one of the lead universities that's.
We check with the Arboretum. I'm just curious what they're.
John Carr did a research on it, and his recommendation at the same time was not to do any additional treatment, to take the wait and see approach.
Okay, so.
Because they look healthier, right?
Correct.
So
I mean, yeah,
that's
there's no
what I'm
reason.
saying, but we also were proactively treating them every 2 years. So is that why they look healthier, or is it, you know what I mean?
We were doing.
I think it was every other year.
It was 3 of them. Last year was the last one.
So that was the adopted program. We were going to, every, 3 treatments for the trees, and I think the conclusion so far is that a lot of those trees look healthy now.
Right.
So it did work.
Right, but
Okay.
if you don't treat them, are you at risk of getting an infestation of the ash borers again?
There's no data science that basically supports that at this point. That's why it's not introduced. The salesman will tell you, yeah, it's a good practice, but I'm looking for more conclusive substantiation.
That the emerald ash borer has been wiped out.
Correct.
Is what you're saying.
But no, I'm not saying, I'm not saying it's totally wiped out. There's no need for additional treatments at this point.
Okay. So once a tree turns healthy, there's nothing that would require at this point more treatments, is I think what we're saying.
Correct.
So the treatment stays in the tree to prevent an ash borers to come in and start destroying it. So.
I don't want to say yes to that question.
What did we budget on an annual basis for when we did treat? It was not cheap.
No.
100,000.
Yeah, I was going to say it was about 100,000.
About 150
Yeah.
to 170.
It's a lot.
I'm basing things.
2 years, though.
I was basing things on facts.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that you're not looking just.
But Dan, I think our thought process though now is we rid the tree of a problem.
Correct, but whether or not the forest preserve, for example, which doesn't treat.
Right. I mean, the bugs are still around, was what I'm saying. And do you need to treat it every 2 years to prevent them?
Preventative for them to come back.
Correct.
Right, and I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that based on studies.
Okay.
If I speak to the sales reps, they're telling me yes. So.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
going back to these things. So for
Sorry,
all
Bob.
the tree replacement, 50/50 program, general tree replacement, Pine Parkway island mowing, and Crest Basement repair and replace evergreen treatment, 1,500. Does anybody have any issues with these items? No. Okay, we'll keep them in. And then the last one under 30-4359, street light request for 8,000. We always put in how many street lights do you get for 8,000? Is it
2 to 3. 2 to 3. It depends on what really is the burdening factor is the amount of cable that needs to be run.
We do this every year, standard.
Dan, what happens if we just mount on a telephone pole that's already there, like we did at Oldfield Road and frontage? We just put a masthead on.
We don't pay for that. Commonwealth Edison does that.
Okay.
I have one thing, Ted. There's a line item above that, Energy Commonwealth Edison -MFT.
Yes.
Last year, we had $30,000 budgeted for that in here. Now you're saying this year you've moved it to MFT, but when I look at the MFT, I don't see it in there. So it might be something you want to take a look at before next time, huh?
I'll look at that.
Was it?
Yeah. Because I see it's been taken out here, but I'm not seeing the other side of it on the MFT.
Okay.
Any other questions for tonight? So next Tuesday, we're going to pick up at contractual services 30-4374. After we're done with municipal services, then we'll go back to police, and then we'll go up from there.
Okay, so I won't be here next week, so could I send my comments, Brian, to you on the rear yard drainage stuff?
Just send it over about the police. Forget about everything else.
I forget about that.
You can't miss that one.
Yeah, you better hit.
I'm in New Orleans.
Receipt, so it's not in my spam folder.
For fun?
No, conference.
Can we postpone that discussion till the following week?
Oh, okay.
Actually misplaced a paper.
Anything else, guys? Okay, so our next budget meeting will be next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Sylvia?
I can't do
Leslie?
that. I can't say that. I can't say
All right, we're all set. Have a good evening, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.